This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
It is Sweet Loretta, Pretty City Dancer still coming, and here she comes on the outside. Holding Bob heads under the wire. Pretty City Dancer and Sweet Loretta together in the Spinaway.
There in the stretch here, Viva Raffaella and Stephanie's Kitten. Stephanie's Kitten now to the front. Viva Raffaella, Abaco, Stephanie's Kitten with the lead. Abaco giving chase. Stephanie's Kitten has won the Flower Bowl.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Arrest Me Red is trying to make his move now, and here he comes with Brand on the far outside. Arzak is in between horses. Front Run the Fed is closing down the center. Artemis City Limits on the outside comes the favorite Arrest Me Red. Brand fights on between horses, then Front Run the Fed. They're coming down to the wire. Artemis City Limits, Brand needs two, and Brand does it. Brand heads to the Breeders' Cup.
And Beholder is opening up on them. Almost impossible to believe. She's turned this into an exercise gallop. Beholder is absolutely poetry in motion. Beholder and Gary Stevens didn't win it. They romped in the Pacific Classic.
Now, here's Mike Penna.
Good morning once again, everyone. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, welcoming you to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires right here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. This, of course, the show that launched the entire network, and happy to have you back in the saddle with me for the next 3 hours on Sirius 162, XM 207, our affiliates in Lexington, Louisville, and across the country, streaming worldwide and podcast on our website, horseracingradio.net, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Which Classic Division showdown is the stronger race this weekend? Is it the Pacific Classic this afternoon at Del Mar, or back on the East Coast, the Jockey Club Gold Cup tomorrow at Saratoga? That is an intriguing question to ponder as you begin your Saturday morning on what is going to be one of the most highly anticipated weekends of racing so far this year for the horses who hope to find themselves in the starting gate of that $7 million event when the Breeders' Cup returns to Del Mar. And in case you're wondering about that, the Breeders' Cup will be back at Del Mar in just 61 days, 15 hours, 57 minutes, and, wait for it, 20 seconds. How about that? It'll be here before we know it. But this is such a big weekend in this Classic Division because of those two outstanding races. And it's not just the fact that you have two races with so much history, so much lore, right? I mean, the horses that have won the Jockey Club Gold Cup and the Pacific Classic are some of the greatest horses ever to set foot on the racetrack. But the fact that these fields are loaded today and tomorrow, and the fact that they are so deep and well-balanced, that makes this question anything but easy, anything but clear-cut. But you have the opportunity to answer that question here this morning, starting right now. That is our poll question. You can go to @HRRN on X. You can go to Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or you can email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. Which Classic Division showdown is the stronger race? Is it the Pacific Classic, or is it the Jockey Club Gold Cup? In the Pacific Classic, you have the big three: Nysos, journalism, and fierceness. But they all have something to prove, don't they? They all have questions to answer. Nysos, man, he has been brilliant. And if he can answer the distance question this afternoon, his first try at a mile and a quarter, if he can show that same brilliance, and he can go out and dominate this Pacific Classic field in his first try at a mile and a quarter, the same distance, by the way, that the Breeders' Cup Classic will be run, then you better look out. Because if you recall, Nysos is the horse. Don't forget, he was on most people's lists as the horse to beat for the Kentucky Derby as a 3-year-old. Then he gets injured, goes to the sidelines. And keep in mind, he wouldn't have been able to compete in the Kentucky Derby last year anyway, because he's trained by Bob Baffert. but he was still a highly regarded horse, at least for the Triple Crown races. And then he goes to the sidelines. He comes back this year. And in his first start of the season, he goes in the Grade 1 Churchill Downs Stakes. You talk about, there's no soft spot to bring him back. He goes in the Grade 1 Churchill Downs. He faces Mindframe, who I'm going to talk about in a minute. And he runs just an incredible race. Ends up in a dead heat for second behind Mindframe, who wins that race by a neck. And you thought, okay, Nysos he's back. He's legit. And he proves it again in the Triple Bend, a Grade 3, a race he was supposed to win. And he wins it by 5.5 lengths over Dr. Venkman. Dr. Venkman flatters that for him when he comes back last weekend and wins the Grade 1 Pat O'Brien at Del Mar. And by the way, his trainer, Mark Glatt, is coming up later in the program. I'll tell you more about that timing here in just a few minutes. The Grade 2 San Diego was Nysos' most recent start on July 26th. He goes 1 1/16 that day. Not crazy long, certainly, but a stretch out. It was the longest distance he had been asked to run. He answers the question. He beats Miramati by 2 3/4 lengths. Now he goes 1 1/4 today. He has never, in his entire career, 6 races, run a bad race. His only defeat came in that return race, the Grade 1 Churchill Downs. And again, he gets beat just a neck to Mindframe. That's why he's the 8-5 favorite under Jockey Flavien Prat in today's Pacific Classic. And by the way, Flavien Prat is going to be here. You want stars? You got them this morning. Seems like I say that every Saturday, though, right? Flavien Prat is going to be here. Well, he joined me on Thursday because his schedule, Flavien's schedule this weekend is just absolutely insane. And rather than trying to coordinate with him and say, hey, let's do this Saturday morning live on the show, we taped that extended conversation on Thursday. Because Flavien rode at Saratoga yesterday. He then flies out to Del Mar to ride these big races today. He turns right around, comes right back to Saratoga to ride Sierra Leone in the Jockey Club Gold Cup tomorrow. And he's going to talk about that. We got into that during that conversation about these crazy schedules, these exhausting schedules that jockeys are so often asked to go through in order to be successful. And he had some really interesting things to say about how he prepares himself mentally. How does he make sure his body and his mind are rested so that when he does get a leg up right before a big race or any race, that he is mentally prepared to go. And not only, it's not like he can come back from Del Mar and fly back to Saratoga tonight and then get a chance to sleep in the morning. I'm pretty sure he'll be out there early, working horses, working the barn area. But even if he weren't, he rides the first race at Saratoga tomorrow. A maiden special weight race for Chad Brown. So it's not like he can sleep in and say, I'll show up at the track at 2 o'clock, ride the later races. I'll get to the Jockey Club Gold Cup, no problem. It's a cool conversation with Flavien coming up 9:20 Eastern. Stay tuned for that. But back to Nysos. His question is, can he answer that distance question? Can he prove to be just as brilliant as he has been for 6 career starts, going 1.25 miles today? If he does, look out. He may very well be the favorite and the horse to beat in the Breeders' Cup Classic in November. How about journalism? Is his tremendous form against 3-year-olds going to translate to a successful first outing against older horses? You have Sovereignty, the winner of the Travers last weekend, who has owned journalism this year. And journalism a clear-cut second in this division. There's no arguing that. Journalism will have to, he's kind of the first 3-year-old, the first big-name 3-year-old to step up and say, okay, I'm going to take on older horses. And I'm doing it in a race like the Pacific Classic. So if his form holds up and he's the one who walks away with the title after the Pacific Classic today, first of all, you better take a You better say Sovereignty is then the horse to beat for the Breeders' Cup Classic, because he's proven to be better than Journalism on a couple of occasions when they met head-to-head. So this is intriguing. I want to see how Journalism fares against these older horses. And then Fierceness. We know what Fierceness is. We know he can be very good. We know he can be not so good. And can he rebound from his lackluster fifth-place finish in the Whitney last month behind Sierra Leone? That's his question he has to answer. He goes all the way to the West Coast to figure it out. And then you have the Jockey Club Gold Cup tomorrow. How deep is this field? Sierra Leone, defending Breeders' Cup Classic champion, wins the Whitney, comes into the race in great form. You have Mindframe, who I mentioned just a few minutes ago. And Mindframe, many people feel like he is the best older horse in training right now. And it's hard to argue with that. As brilliant as Nysos has been, you can say the same thing about Mindframe. 7 starts, 5 wins, 2 seconds. And if you want to look for the head-to-head matchup, as I talked about earlier, he beat Nysos on the square in the Grade 1 Churchill Downs Stakes. Doesn't seem to matter what distance he runs at. Doesn't seem to matter what track he runs on. Mindframe is good. And this showdown between Mindframe and Sierra Leone today, a rematch, if you will, from the Stephen Foster when Mindframe beat him by a length that day, is going to be just absolutely must-watch television. And speaking of television, this race is early. It goes as the 5th race on the card at Saratoga tomorrow, 1:45 Eastern, the post time. So if you're on the West Coast, it's even earlier, 10:45. All because of the Fox TV commitment and getting this race out there on the main Fox channel. I think Fox has other programming commitments later in the day, maybe auto racing or something like that. So that's the reason this race is so early. I wish it was later in the day, but it's fine. Still going to be one heck of a matchup there, and can't wait to see it. And those are just the top 2, if you will. What about White Abarrio? White Abarrio has been dull the last couple of times. Not the White Abarrio we're accustomed to seeing. There was plenty of talk about him initially going to go to the Pacific Classic. Instead, here he is in tomorrow's Jockey Club Gold Cup. 2 years removed from his triumph in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Can White Abarrio, for Saffie Joseph Jr., find a way to get back to his top form? And then you have defending Jockey Club Gold Cup champion Highland Falls. Can he do it again? And if he does, and he beats those 3 horses I just mentioned and everybody else, should he now be considered a dangerous horse looking ahead to early November at Del Mar? You see why I say there's no easy, clear-cut answer to that poll question here this morning? I am really, really excited to hear your thoughts on the program today. I'm going to update your responses as we move throughout the morning here. But which Classic Division showdown is the stronger race this weekend? The Pacific Classic today, the Jockey Club Gold Cup tomorrow. Curious to hear your thoughts. You don't just have to click the vote button either. You can make a choice, but then if you want to leave a comment, you want to send me your comments, Mike@horseracingradio.net, do it. Would love to hear from you. And I'll pass along those results later in the show. Outside of the Classic Division, the big races at Del Mar and Saratoga, you also have a pretty good day at Kentucky Downs, right? Highlighted maybe by that Nashville Derby. And several horses that were facing Sovereignty and Journalism throughout the Triple Crown are now heading to Kentucky Downs for that Nashville Derby. And that is going to be a tremendous race to watch this afternoon. Ian Wilkes is the trainer of Burnham Square. Ian will join me 9 o'clock Eastern to begin hour number 2. I mentioned Mark Glatt, the trainer of Dr. Venkman, winner of the Pat O'Brien. He has 20-1 long shot, ultimate gamble in today's Pacific Classic. You're going to hear from him at the end of hour 2, right around 9:50. That will be our Road to the Breeders' Cup segment. So here's your lineup. Here's what's happening here this morning. Going to kick it off in just a few minutes after this break with Joe Miller. He is the U.S. representative for Tattersalls. This is yearling sales season. Began really with the Fasig-Tipton Saratoga sale. I guess their July sale, but then the Saratoga sale too in August. On Monday, September 8th, we kick off the Keeneland September yearling sale. And On October 7th, the Tattersalls October yearling sale across the pond will begin what they hope is going to be another record-breaking session. They had a record-breaking sale last year, hoping to top it again. Joe Miller, the U.S. representative for Tattersalls, joins me in just a few minutes after this first commercial break. Brett Brinkman, the trainer of today's Spinaway contender, Cinna, coming out of that maiden win at Delaware, joined me on Trainer Talk along with trainer Joe Lee, who looked back on Mayday Ready's big win last weekend. They both joined me on Trainer Talk, presented by Fasig-Tipton yesterday. And you're going to hear a portion of my conversation with Brett Brinkman talking about Cinna and why he thinks she does deserve a shot, and she's legit. Not just throwing her to the wolves, but he thinks she's a legitimate contender. You'll find out why in just a little bit, right around 8:40 Eastern time. Again, Ian Wilkes, 9 o'clock Eastern. Jockey Flavien Prat, 9:20. 9:50, Mark Glatt goes down the road to the Breeders' Cup. Hour 3 kicks off 10 o'clock Eastern. Kevin Kilroy has the TwinSpires triple play. 3 races to watch and bet with TwinSpires this afternoon. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History at 10:20. I Ask, They Answer with Dale and Tim, 10:30 Eastern. Time now to check in with our producer, Lee Delapina, for this week's Impossible Trivia Question. Lee?
Thanks, Mike. Since the NFL season kicks off this week, I thought it'd be appropriate to give you an NFL-themed Impossible Trivia question. What famous NFL quarterback was part owner of the Todd Pletcher-trained Mission Impassable? Here's a hint. That horse's best win came in the 2010 Louisiana Derby. No Googling. We'll give out the answer at the end of the show.
All right. Good one there from Lee Delapina here this morning. It is the kickoff of college football season for many of you. And as he mentioned, the NFL getting ready to get things rolling this coming week as well. Coming back with Joe Miller, U.S. representative for Tattersalls. That's next on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Top consignor Scott Mallory has an exciting group of horses on offer at the Keeneland September yearling sale. From solid Book 1 horses by sires like Uncle Mo and Curland, as well as exciting freshman sire Charlatan. Offerings in Books 2 through 5 include horses by proven sires like Liam's Map, Omaha Beach, Violence, and newcomers such as Drain the Clock, Olympiad, and Jack Christopher.
Don't miss the Scott Mallory consignment starting in Barn 15 at Keeneland September.
When it's time to paint the fences and barns, think Farm Paint. At Farm Paint, you get the industry's best coatings and paints factory direct at low prices. Farm Paint is your source for quality paints, roof coatings, dustless arena footings, and more. You can purchase online or drop into a Farm Paint store near you with locations in Heart of Bluegrass Country at 700 Phillips Lane in Lexington, Kentucky, Columbus, Ohio, and Sandusky, Ohio. Buy factory direct and save at farmpaint.com. That's farmpaint.com.
Millridge is recognized with raising and selling exceptional athletes.
Test Score, a convincing winner of the Belmont Derby Invitational. World Beater and Junior Alvarado have won the Saratoga Derby Invitational.
Test Score and World Beater became the 40th and 41st Grade 1 winners raised or sold by Millridge since 2000, and they continue to exceed the odds of only 0.18% of all thoroughbreds winning a Grade 1, with Millridge and their clients experiencing closer to a 3% strike rate. Consider your next Grade 1 winner this September with the Millridge consignment.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Erad Ortiz and Cockburn have a 4-length lead at the top of the stretch here in the turf sprint. They come bounding by the 8-pole clear. Izzy Bungo tries to gain ground. Then A.G. Bullet. Starlust is rallying up the rail, and they're getting to Cockburn now. Here comes A.G. Bullet. Here comes Starlust. Starlust comes from the clouds to win. A.G. Bullet in a photo with Motorius for second in 55.92 seconds.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you right up until 11 a.m. Eastern. The voice you just heard was Larry Colmus, and that was the call of last year's Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, won by Starlust, one of several Tattersalls October sales graduates to go on to Breeders' Cup success. And we have seen Tattersalls grads come to the United States and win big races with regularity, and they win all over the world. The Tattersalls October yearling sale is coming up October 7th to the 9th. It is indeed Europe's premier yearling sale, and nobody knows that better than Joe Miller, who is the U.S. representative for Tattersalls, and he's with me now. Joe, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
That race call had to bring back some good memories for you and the team, huh?
Well, I didn't bet Starlust that day, but
shame on you.
I wish I did. I hope you did. But that was an amazing win for Rafe Beckett and the Hayes, and Starlust was a Book One graduate. And actually, the horse that was second, who just got nailed at the wire, Matorius, was also a Tattersall sales graduate too. So that was coincidentally that was an exacta in the Breeders' Cup Sprint turf sprint last year.
Yeah, fantastic. The sale, the October yearling sale, is coming off of a record-breaking year in 2024. What do you do for an encore?
Well, it's definitely big shoes to fill. Last year was an amazing sale. They had a record gross, a record average, but I think that's really owing to the fact that it was a lot of buyers have said that was the best group of horses they've ever seen on a sales grounds. Not just on pedigree, but also physically. And I think that's, I think that's only going to get better for 2025. Part of the reason what makes Tattersall so special is that the breeders throughout Ireland and England and all over Europe, they have so much faith in the market in England at Tattersalls, and they know that the buyers are going to show up there, and they bring their best horses to the sale. And we think that 2025 is only going to be better, really.
Yeah, and I think the fact that there are so many turf races that are now offered, certainly here in the U.S., but all over the world, that has to play into the number of American buyers that we're seeing at Tattersalls now.
Well, that's definitely the case. I mean, it's becoming a much more global game. I mean, the Americans, a lot of Americans now, Royal Ascot is on their bucket list. They want to try to get to Royal Ascot, and or any of the really big race meets throughout the world. So there's no better place to buy a grass horse really than Tattersalls. In America now, grass racing is seemingly more than 50% of our races at the major tracks. And, it just seems like over and over again, horses coming in from Europe are winning at the highest level at some of these races. And, just take, for example, at Saratoga, just recently you've got horses like El Cordobés winning the Sword Dancer, who's a Book One graduate. It's just countless graded stakes winners, one after the other, that are coming over from Europe and really showing their stuff here in America.
Joe, we've said that for years, that when the Europeans come over with their turf horses, they tend to dominate the American turfers. And not that the Americans don't hold serve every once in a while, but I think that the European horses that come for the Breeders' Cup, for example, we always look at them as being major players, if not the ones to beat in the turf races on Breeders' Cup Friday and Saturday. Why do you think that is? Is that because of the pedigrees that we're seeing, or is it because of the athleticism? What's the reason?
Well, I think there's a lot of things behind that. I mean, the way that they train, the facilities that they have to train in Europe are second to none. Having the training grounds like Warren Hill and Newmarket and the training centers in Lambourne, and the opportunities that the trainers have to train their horses uphill, and I think that plays a pretty big role into it. But it's the pedigrees. You have these great families that have been developed for generation after generation. And now more and more trainers in Europe are really aiming their horses that they think would really suit firm ground to the Breeders' Cup. I mean, they're campaigning strictly to end their season in the Breeders' Cup. And yeah, we're seeing it more and more. And look, it certainly helps when you have, teams like Godolphin and Juddmonte who just sort of dominate the game worldwide, and they're bringing their best horses to come over. And, their breeding and racing outfits are just such a bigger scale than anything we have here in America. So those are pretty difficult things to compete with.
Joe Miller working as the U.S. representative for Tattersalls. He's been around the game a long time. He's seen a lot of really good turf horses on the racetrack and in the sales ring at that October yearling sale. And again, if you're just joining us, the sale coming up Tuesday, October 7th through Thursday, October 9th. Joe, when you go out to talk with potential buyers, potential owners, whatever the case might be, what do you tell them? Give me your sales pitch. What do you tell them about this October yearling sale? How do you make sure that they understand what this sale is all about?
Well, the first thing I do is I tell them, you do hear a lot, where are guys like Chad Brown getting all of these grass horses for Klarovich? And I mean, that's a pretty simple answer. That most of those are coming out of the Tattersalls Book One sale that Chad and Mike Ryan and Seth Klarman and their team are picking out there. And then other guys like Peter Brandt, and it seems to be happening over and over again that these good horses are coming out of the Tattersall sale. But it's not just the sort of high-end Book One horses. I mean, you're seeing horses bought at all levels come over and compete on a high level. I mean, King of Gosford, who I believe is in the Del Mar Mile this weekend, he won the Shoemaker earlier this year, Grade 1 winner. He's a 32,000-pound yearling purchase out of the Tattersall sale. So there's value there. There's a lot of opportunity. And, you don't always have to play at the top of the market to come out with a Grade 1 horse. I mean, the best filly, best 2-year-old filly this year in Europe, Venetian Sun, I believe cost 240,000 pounds out of Book One last year. And she just beat the boys in the Prix at Deauville this past weekend. So you don't have to be going over there and spending north of $500,000. You don't have to spend 7 figures to be coming out with top quality horses. And the markets in America are just becoming so competitive. At Saratoga a few weeks ago, it was, I know a lot of people that had a hard time even trying to raise their hand in the sales ring. And, even though the Tattersall sale is strong, I just feel like with the size of the catalog and the high quality level of the horses, you've got a lot more options. And in addition to that, I'm also an agent as well. So I've been going to Tattersalls for 20 years and buying horses. So I've got firsthand experience of that. And through that and managing people's racing and breeding operations and buying horses over there, I've been able to do it firsthand, and I have that experience to tell them there's really no better place in the world to go to find a good horse and to be able to find things at good value.
Is your approach to the Tattersall sale different, Joe, than it would be to a sale like it here in the States, like Fasig-Tipton or Keeneland, for example?
Well, I actually have a little bit of a different approach to every sale.
Okay.
But Tattersalls it's a little bit of a different approach, just to the fact that I really do. I think a lot of buyers kind of concentrate on a lot of the stallions that have done very well in America already. Lope de Vega. I mean, there's a countless number of stallions, Lope de Vega, Mamus, even kind of not even on the top end, horses like Bated Breath. There's certain stallions that have really performed well in America. And I think a lot of the American buyers like to kind of jump in and go for those sort of proven stallions. But I think there's also a lot of horses that have kind of been untested here that would really work. And so it's sort of a different approach depending on where you go, because a lot of people might kind of cut down their catalog list a little more than they probably should. The amount of good horses at Tattersalls last year, and I know it'll be the same this year, is, your short list was, twice as long as it was at any other sale, because there were so many good horses. So, I try to go through the pedigrees first and kind of cut the list down a little bit, but it's a very difficult thing to do because you really don't want to miss too many good horses.
With names like Dubois and Frankel and Kingman on the sire side of the pedigree, is it safe to say, Joe, I don't even know if you buy into this or not, but are we kind of in a golden era with European sires right now?
Well, I think Frankel, I think those names that you just mentioned are going to be all-time greats, and I think we're going to be talking about them for years to come. But, there's so many other good ones, and, See the Stars have done incredible in America, like I've said before, Lope de Vega. But, the amount of horses by kind of smaller, obscure sires that come over here and do incredibly well is, it happens day in and day out. So, but yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. Those stallions are going to be influences on pedigrees for years and years to come, and especially based on the people who control those books. I mean, you've got Godolphin, who has done an amazing job, with Dubois, over the last decade. And he has really turned into one of the greatest stallions in the world. And then, Frankel, I think, is sort of the undisputed king, really, at the moment. I mean, he's sort of in a league of his own. What he's done is just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, just incredible. It's going to be a fantastic sale. Again, it comes up Tuesday, October 7th through Thursday, October 9th. It is in Europe's premier yearling sale, and coming off of that record-breaking season. And Joe Miller going to try to hope for more good news at this year's sale and see if you can top what happened last year, Joe. That would be pretty special.
That would be pretty special. I mean, from our point of view, we loved getting the good sales results. We love keeping the breeders happy and them selling horses for a lot of money. But even more importantly, we really love seeing these horses go on and compete at the highest level. And, globally, it's just been a great year for Tattersalls grads. They've had, I believe, 9 Grade 1 winners in the U.S. In the last 3 years out of Tattersalls Book 1. Globally, it's really just an incredible statistic of how well these Tattersalls grads are doing.
Coming up in the second hour of the show, I'm going to treat our listeners to a really fun conversation I had on Thursday this week with Jockey Flavien Prat. He's getting ready. We did it on Thursday because he has such a busy weekend, traveling from Saratoga to Del Mar and then right back to Saratoga again. But he's going to be traveling to Del Mar to ride the Pacific Classic. He's also going to be aboard King of Gosford in one of the big races out there, too. King of Gosford is a graduate of the October yearling sale, so I know you'll be cheering for him here Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, King of Gosford has done an amazing. He's been an amazing horse since he's come to California. I mean, Phil D'Amato does a great job. I mean, Phil's an incredibly nice guy and an even better trainer, and he's done a great job with King of Gosford. He's an interesting horse. He's still fully intact male, King of Gosford. His dam, actually, Miss Sugars, is a filly that we raced in California years ago, and she was a stakes winner for us as a 2-year-old. She won the Blue Northern, and Sheikh Fahad ended up buying her and breeding her to Zoustar when he was standing Zoustar at his farm at Tween Hills in England. And I mean, this horse only cost 32,000 pounds at the Tattersall sale, and he's really stamped himself as one of the best grass horses in California, if not really the country. I mean, he's a horse that I know the Connections actually toyed with going to Saratoga with. And they decided to stay home in California because the Breeders' Cup's there this year. But he's a horse that, he deserves a look, not just this weekend, but as we get later in the season for Breeders' Cup. He's a serious horse. And Flavien might have a hard time this weekend. I think he's drawn outside. I haven't had too close of a look at the race, but I don't think he has the best draw for Saturday. But he's a good horse. Might be something he might be able to overcome.
Yeah, if anybody can work out a trip from there, it is indeed champion jockey Flavien Prat. Joe Miller with me here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Joe, appreciate the visit. All the best with that Tattersall sale coming up in October, and let's keep it rolling.
Thank you. Yeah, and if anybody wants to come to the Tattersalls sale, feel free to go to their website, reach out to me. I'm happy to get you more information, and we'd love to host you in Newmarket.
Fantastic. Joe Miller, U.S. representative for Tattersalls. Joe, enjoy the weekend. Good luck with King of Gosford.
Same to you. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
All right. Coming up next, you're going to hear from trainer Brett Brinkman as he gets set to saddle Cinna in today's Win and You're In Spinaway at the Spa. You'll hear from him coming up next, right after your Legends of the Turf and the short commercial break.
It wasn't planned that way, but it turned out to be a promoter's dream. The event was the Trenton Handicap at Garden State in New Jersey in November of 1957. The question before the race might well have been, who will wear the crown? After all, the Miss America contest was held in the same state, and in this race, the three outstanding colts in America at the time, Round Table, Bull Ruler, and Gallant Man, were ready to answer the call to post for the 1.25 mile test. Two of the horses were locked in a struggle for not only the 2-year-old crown, but Horse of the Year as well, Round Table and Gallant Man. The third member of that troika, although very good, considered a tag-along, was Bold Ruler. The cast of characters for the drama about to unfold bears closer verbal scrutiny. Round Table was a small, very powerful son of Prince Quillo out of Knight's Daughter by Sir Cosmo. He'd done everything asked of him and more. And against all comers, those with speed, those with distance durability, and those that were older. He'd won 11 in a row on any kind of racing surface all over the country. He was a slashing speedster, especially at middle distances. He set a track record of 158-3 in the 1.25 mile Hollywood Gold Cup and was the only 3-year-old ever to win it. He'd equaled the track record at Hawthorne for the same distance in winning that Gold Cup and set a new mark at Keeneland for 1 1/8 miles. Owned by Travis Kerr, trained by Willie Moulter, the only chink in his armor was not a particular fondness for an off-track, and the track at Garden State on this day was rated as good. Gallant Man was a small, sturdy son of Majoli out of Majida by Mahmoud, obviously English inbreeding and quite formidable at that. Very versatile, superb stamina, acknowledged as the best in the East. It equaled Tropical's 6-furlong record with a blistering 109-2, smashed the American 1 1/2 mile record at Belmont, and the 9-furlong track mark at Belmont as well. He'd won the Jockey Club Gold Cup at 2 miles, lost a heartbreaker in the Derby through a rider error. That was the infamous Shoemaker misjudgment of the finish line, and he had swapped wins with Dedicated the Nassau County and the Woodward. Both of the latter were weight for age. Owned by Ralph Lowe, trained by the highly capable Johnny Nayrud, the possible chink in his armor was also an apparent less than zestful liking for an off-track. Bold Ruler was considered the uninvited guest, as it were, akin to Sheridan Whiteside and the most entertaining man who came to dinner, a role quite remarkably well played by Monty Woolley, by the way. Bold Ruler was the sometimes erratic son of Nasrullah out of Miss Disco by Discovery. He had proven he could carry a lot of weight, having done so in winning the Bahamas, Flamingo, Wood Memorial, a race in which, by the way, he defeated Gallant Man in track record time, the Preakness, the Jerome, the Vosburg, and the Queen's County. He appeared to have lost his edge through the summer, encountering difficulty going over 1 1/8 miles. Very speedy out of the gate indeed he was, owned by Mrs. Henry Carnegie Phipps and trained by the legendary Sonny Jim Fitzsimmons. Possible flaw? He had not done well at all in previous attempts at 10 furlongs and had been demolished by Gallant Man at 12 furlongs. Bold Ruler in this race, as expectedly, broke very quickly with Heady Eddie Arcaro in the saddle and went on out to set the early fractions. Round Table swerved and broke in a tangle. Gallant Man away in good order. Into the clubhouse turn, Bold Ruler opened a 3.5-length lead, but that too had been expected with Round Table second, 3 lengths in front of Gallant Man. Bold Ruler cut the first half in 47 and running freely and pulling off to an open 5-length lead. At the far turn, Bold Ruler had not let up one single bit, and he had an 8-length lead. The very astute Arcaro now began to look back for the expected challenges. Gallant Man made a bit of a run around the turn to come abreast of Round Table, and those two matched strides while slowly closing in on Bold Ruler. Round Table was the first to give up the chase, but Gallant Man close to within 2 lengths of Bold Ruler, but they were in mid-stretch by that time, and Arcaro still had some horse left. He hand-rode Bold Ruler to the wire to a 2-length win. It had been Bold Ruler's day. Not the way the experts figured it, but races often turn out that way. For example, the 1930 Travers, when the question had been Gallon Fox or which one or Gallon Fox. Well, it turned out to be neither. It was Jim Dandy then at 100-1 and had been bull ruler on this particular day. A solid victory for not the man who came to dinner, but the horse who came to race in November of 1957 in the Trenton Handicap, and he did indeed leave wearing a crown.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Race the TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Join us at Kentucky Downs August 28th through September 10th, showcasing 7 days of racing with more than $40 million in purses, including the country's richest 3-year-old turf race, the Nashville Derby, on Saturday, August 30th. The meet boasts the largest field sizes in America with 6 $2 million races on September 6th and 11 of 19 stakes worth at least $1 million for Kentucky breds, along with 2 Breeders' Cup win-in-your-in races during the meet. Reserved seats on sale now at themintKentuckyDowns.com. There's Unique, and there's Kentucky Downs.
Attention horsemen. Did you know Virginia restricted purses at Colonial Downs are 25% higher than open races? 25%. Virginia bred, Virginia sired, and Virginia certified horses compete for a purse of more than $87,000 for Virginia restricted maidens and $90,000 for Virginia restricted one other than allowance races, with more bonuses available to Virginia certified developers. With the return of the Virginia-Maryland circuit, it makes more sense than ever to get Virginia certified.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
5/16 to go. Cena with 88% of the show pull on the tip of her nose. Shows the way by 3, but 3 of them try to gang up and take her on, including Tap into Grace, Rock Etiquette, and Sweet Shenanigans at the top of the stretch. Cena releases the brakes and leads by 4 authoritative lanes. Rock Etiquette takes up the chase in second. Tap into Grace now tries to take that second place position away, and Sweet Shenanigans is as flat as a strap, but Cena was well supported throughout and looked good. Cena didn't even take a deep breath today. Wins for fun at 1-5. Rock Etiquette was second, Tap into Grace third, Sweet Shenanigans fourth, and Doc's Miracle was the last one home.
Big win for Cena last time out. That was a maiden-breaking victory at Delaware on August 8th. She won by 5, going wire to wire. She gets a much stiffer test this afternoon in the Grade 1 Spinaway, a win-in-your-in for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies division. Her trainer, Brett Brinkman, took time to join me on Trainer Talk presented by Fasig-Tipton yesterday, and we got into several aspects of Cena and why he feels like she's a good fit, but he started the conversation by answering my question about the moment he started to realize she could be more than just ordinary.
I mean, early on, we really loved her demeanor and the way she'd done things and so forth. And then as we progressed along, you know, without having a clear pattern, I mean, you build the dreams in your mind, obviously, but, you know, without having a clear roadmap to where we were headed, we were letting her kind of tell us where we wanted to go. As we got a little closer to being ready to make our first start, you know, she was handling every 2-year-old. I mean, within a couple of works, she was handling any 2-year-old that we had in the barn. So I had to step her up to older horses, and you know, once we stepped her up to older horses, hooked her with a pretty nice maiden horse. She outworked it pretty handily and did it easy. And you know, riders were coming back just shaking their heads and saying, you know, all I'm doing is asking her to slow down. I'm just asking her to slow down. And you know, then we started working her behind horses and doing some things like that. And then I hooked her up with a nice maiden winner that had won like his second or third start late in the fall, early in the winter kind of deal. And that a horse I liked a lot that's developing forward. and she handled him real easy. So we kind of knew then that, we were looking at something that we felt was pretty special.
Yeah, and like many of these fillies, they're just getting started with their careers, and they haven't raced a whole lot in the afternoon, so they don't have a ton of experience. But she has some early speed. Do you get the sense that if for some reason she would need to sit off of horses in this particular race, that she would do it?
I feel like she's very capable of sitting off of horses. Having to judge her just off the 2 races that we've had. The first race, she kind of got slammed into leaving the gate. And Loveberry, I think he felt like he needed to be into the race a little bit. When he mashed the button on her, I think she surprised him at how quick she was. And she went up there and tackled the filly on the lead, and, the results were what they were. She works very kind in the mornings. She does things very easy in the mornings for us. The second race, which we elected to stay at Delaware, and my PhD in unpopular decisions usually came into play there. But I did not want to have to ship her, twice and run on a short turnaround. I wanted to run her out of her stall. I wanted her to be comfortable with where she was at and stuff, and see how she came back, because it was all about how she was going to train after the race. It wasn't about going over there and winning or doing anything. It was how she was going to train afterwards. So I wanted to be in her familiar surroundings where she had been training at to do that. And, all we told Jamie was just ride her with confidence and just, try not to let her be too forward, just too run-offy kind of. And he said she was very kind with him. She was just faster than the rest of them. If you see during the race, he kind of settled her, let them horses run to her, and, she took back off again. But I feel like she will. I feel like she'll settle. It's yet to be proven. She has to go and prove it in the afternoons, as you said. So we'll see. She'll surely have some horses that want to get in front of her, on Saturday.
Brett, when you start working with these young horses, colts or fillies, what signs do you look for to let you know that they can be more than ordinary?
They tell. If you're listening, they're telling you. You just watch them day after day go out and do their job, and watch the progression, watch how they handle it mentally. Every step is another mental test, another physical test. Pretty much once you've spent about 30 days on the racetrack with them, their athleticism. You've seen glimpses and shadows of their athleticism. So from there, it's just how they maintain their mental ability going forward, and along with the physical attributes. People discount how much has to go into these horses to get them to their first start. After their first start, obviously it's development and so forth. They have to develop forward, but they also have to mentally continue to come back to focus and do things. Coming out of the first race, I didn't feel like we waited a while to run her back. She just kind of lost a little focus after that first race. I kind of feel like it was probably due a little bit to, she didn't run like she had been working. She had been working different than that. And, when she got hustled away from the latches the way she did, and it's no fault of anybody's, it's just racing. It just kind of confused her a little bit, I think, and she come out of that race just a little bit unsure of what we were asking her to do. And once we got back into a work routine, she came right back to us. So I was real happy with that.
One of the difficult things about being a horse trainer is that you can put all the time in, do everything right, and once you give a leg up to the jockey and they get onto the track, it's out of your control. How frustrating can that be sometimes?
It's just, it is what it is, and you hope owners, have been in the racing end long enough that you're right. You can do everything right, and they can have the correct intentions, and things just go bad, and horses react differently. And, it just doesn't work. So you build up to that one race day, and then, things just go wrong for whatever reasons. And then you just have to go home and turn that back into a win. You got to go home and go focus on how your horse came back, how they're handling things, assess their ability correctly, and then build to the next one. I mean, it's about correcting what do you have to correct, and hoping the horse cooperates with you, and then build to the next the next payday, hopefully.
Well, Dale is the name of the owner. Dale Ladner has been with you a long time. Tell me a little bit more about that connection.
Oh, it's crazy. Just one of them crazy meetings that turns into basically your life. Was fortunate enough to be racing against Dale in some stake races, and met him one night at the races and just got to introduce myself. And a couple of weeks later, I get a phone call about, maybe wanting to bring me a horse he had, a stake horse. And oddly enough, as racing goes, he drops the horse off one day. I track him a couple of days, and he's not right. There's something wrong with him. And we end up on the shelf with him for half a year or better, and horse comes back to win 3 or 4 stake races for us as horse of the meet down there at one of the meets in Louisiana, and turns into a really, really super nice horse, which he was a nice horse to start with, but really got good for us there. And and then it's just grown. I mean, we went to the sale, we bought Senna and Alba's mother as a yearling, as a partnership, and we had tremendous racing luck with her, and then as you just progress along, it's the reason why you can't cookie cut anything in this business, because it's just so random. He was never wanting to be in the broodmare business, never wanting to breed race horses. He just wanted to buy and race and do that end of it. And we end up with sitting at the bar as a broodmare, and the time the market wasn't what the market is now, and they were saying she was worth X, and simple situation where the owners thought she was worth more, and we bred her, got one foal out of her, sold it. He figured he could do this deal, and here we are today. So.
Unbelievable. And yeah, you're a co-breeder on the horse, Brett, bred with Dale, and that's a really neat thing. And if you can find a way to win a grade 1 with her, that's kind of next level, right? When you can not only train the horse and breed the horse, that just takes everything to a whole new level.
Yeah, it's, I grew up in this industry. I mean, from the time I could basically walk, but you watch these things happen, vicariously through other people and so forth through your life, and you never realize how special it really is. I mean, that you're the breeder, you get to train them, you get to own them. It's rare air. I mean, it really is when you get to touch them at every aspect all the way through that process. I mean, we've bred graded stake horses before, but we've always sold them as yearlings or something like that and so forth. So to carry one all the way to the winner's circle it's pretty unbelievable.
Brett, how much did that pedigree, being out of the dam, sitting at the bar, and being a daughter of Gunrunner, how much did that pedigree play into naming the horse Senna? Because I think that's a little clever.
Well, Dale usually names everything, and he, for some reason, I don't know if he was just tired, because, contrary to what people believe, it's not easy naming thoroughbred horses, and
no.
I mean, it's a job. If you really like your horse, it's really a job. I mean, I run across quite a few horses, and some crazy names for whatever reason, but when you lean forward and you breed one to gun runner, and it's out of your a world class mare like this mare seems to be. You want to try to put a moniker on them that they can carry with some distinction, and so I spent. He turned that job over to me this trip, and I spent more than a couple of nights researching and looking and coming up with some ideas and stuff. And oddly enough, that was the only name I ran by him. I said, "This is where I'm at. This is the name I come up with. How do you feel?" And there was a long pause in the text message, so I sent him the meaning and the definition that I felt like fitter, and he sent back. He said, "I'm good." And so it stuck. But there was quite a bit of research that went into it. So I hope she lives up to it. She has so far to me.
Brett, you are closing in on 800 career victories. Do trainers really pay attention to milestones such as those?
I'm sure some do. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that some do. I don't. As a matter of fact, I got my 500th win with her brother in a stake race. And I didn't even know it was happening. It kind of caught me by surprise when they said it in the winner's circle. But, I guess some do track it. I don't. I'm just doing what I do. It's kind of who I am. And every day, you go out there and, there's not one owner or one trainer I've ever met that likes losing. So, the win column is what matters. To me, the money column matters quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
But my dad said something to me the other day about a meet we had, and I had like an ungodly amount of seconds. And I said, yeah, boy, if I could turn about 6 of those into wins, if it was that easy and I could turn 6 of those into wins, I'd be right up there, with the top 2 or 3 in wins. But in money, I'm in the top 3, so that's all that matters to me right now.
Well, and he can pad that bankroll a little more if Cinna can find a way to win the $300,000 Grade 1 Spinaway this afternoon at Saratoga. Post time 5:38 Eastern, so 2:38 for those of you listening to the show out on the West Coast. That's race number 11 on the program at the Spa this afternoon. If you want to hear more from Brett or from Joe Lee, who also joined me on yesterday's Trainer Talk presented by Fasig-Tipton, you can head back to our website, horseracingradio.net, to listen to the podcast and do that on every podcast platform. Coming up next, I'll tell you what's coming up in Hour 2 and get you ready for Hour number 3. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan and feel the retirement fear disappear. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becker. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
We have the world at our fingertips, inspiration in our touch, and power in our hands. Our hands, gentle enough to hold the next generation, yet strong enough to build movements that can change the world. Our hands can build relationships, frame ideas, and empower communities. We have the ability to share and imagine, create and comfort, love and heal the world around us. And it doesn't stop there. Right here, in our hands, we have the power to save a life. If you see a teen or adult suddenly collapse, call 911 and push hard and fast in the center of the chest.
The power is in your hands.
Anthem Foundation is the proud national supporter of the American Heart Association's Hands Only CPR campaign.
Thursday evenings, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, is the Brisnet.com call-in show. It's your chance to call in and let the Horse Racing Radio Nation know what's on your mind. Call us at 888-966-HRRN. That's 888-966-4776. And discuss the topics you choose in the world of thoroughbred racing. The Brisnet.com call-in show. Sirius 162, XM 207, and streaming live at horseracingradio.net. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
It is Miramati on top. Where's Nysos going to go? He's down on the inside. Hall of Fame is right up alongside of them. Then Tarantino and Express Train, and they're into the stretch with Miramati to catch. Nysos finds a seam now, and here he comes at the 8th pole, bounding by Miramati. And then on the outside, it's Hall of Fame and Tarantino, but it is Nysos. Nysos and Flavien Prat running away in the San Diego in hand at the end to beat his stablemate Miramati. Tarantino was third, and fourth was Hall of Fame.
That's Larry Colmus with the call of the Grade 2 San Diego on July 26th at Del Mar. Nysos running away from the field that day under Jockey Flavien Prat. He will get a leg up again this afternoon, and he gets a leg up here on the Horse Racing Radio Network coming up at 9:20 Eastern. Stay tuned for that extended conversation with Jockey Flavien Prat. We get into a whole bunch of things, including conversation about the morning line favorite Nysos in today's Pacific Classic. Ian Wilkes going to join me in just a few minutes to begin hour number 2. We'll talk about the Nashville Derby at Kentucky Downs. Mark Glatt, also part of a loaded second hour of the program. If you are going to be at Kentucky Downs, I want to remind you that you'll want to check out Tony's. Now, there's Tony's of Lexington. If you're going to be in central Kentucky for the horse sales, make your reservation now. They're on Main Street just behind Rupp Arena. You want an incredible meal, great people, great service, and the best steak I've ever had. I promise you, you'll love it. You can go to Tony's of Lexington or Tony's of Bowling Green, right down by Kentucky Downs. Make your reservations now. They have a location in Bowling Green. You won't want to miss it. Also want to give you a quick reminder that the Pimlico Preservation Project will be at Timonium, the Maryland meet, coming up this weekend. They're there today, they're there tomorrow, and all kinds of Preakness and Pimlico branded items that were rescued from Pimlico prior to the beginning of the demolition. They have T-shirts, they have polo jackets, beautiful saddle towels, hats and pins, and Preakness glasses from a variety of years. They're all yours simply by making a donation to Thoroughbred Aftercare. You can come see them in the lower level grandstand at the Big T across from the betting windows. Make sure you do that. It's a really awesome thing if you're going to be at Timonium later today. All right, hour 2 begins right now, right after this 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Welcome back, hour 2 of 3. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch. Happy to have you along for the ride this morning, right up until 11 a.m. Eastern. If you missed any portion of the first hour of the program, my conversation with Joe Miller looking ahead to the Tattersalls October sale, or that conversation with Brett Brinkman from yesterday's Trainer Talk program, head back to the website, check out the podcast at horseracingradio.net, and you can do that too on every podcast platform. Poll question this morning: which Classic Division showdown is the stronger race this weekend? Not an easy call, and the voting reflects that. Is it the Pacific Classic at Del Mar today, or the Jockey Club Gold Cup at Saratoga tomorrow. So far, 57% of HRRN Nation going for the Pacific Classic, still 43% saying it's the Jockey Club Gold Cup. I think the Pacific Classic may have the most intrigue, but the Jockey Club Gold Cup may prove to be the stronger race, potentially. Again, plenty of questions to be answered for horses in both of those races coming up this weekend. Some questions to answer, too, in the Nashville Derby at Kentucky Downs. That Kentucky Downs meet, loaded with quality, loaded with money, and loaded with big fields. 1 mile and 5/16 is the distance of that Grade 3 Nashville Derby this afternoon. Several horses that we became familiar with down the road to the Kentucky Derby and through the Triple Crown are competing in this turf event this afternoon. And that includes Burnham Square for trainer Ian Wilkes, who is making his turf debut later today. And Ian is with me right now here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Ian, good morning, my friend.
Morning, Mike.
Are you fired up for today or what?
Oh, you have to be. I'd have to be not alive if I'm not.
What are you seeing? Let's talk about, first of all, the fact that he's making his turf debut. What things do you see in Burnham Square that lead you to believe he can be as brilliant, maybe even more brilliant, on the turf?
Well, he's bred for grass. He's overachieved on the dirt. He's not even bred for dirt. His whole family, female, Leone's map is more tendency to go to turf. So everything just points to turf. I always had it in the back of my mind that we'd end up on the grass, but while he was doing so good on the dirt, I just didn't want to change.
It sounds like maybe he surprised you a little bit with that dirt form.
Oh, definitely. He's an overachiever on that, so won't give any of it back. Just keep moving forward. But, yeah, he has surprised me.
When you get a horse early on into the barn, Ian, and you start trying to figure them out, what things do you look for to let you know what surface they might be best on?
Boy, if I could tell you that exactly, you don't know. When you first start, you keep on working, and when you get an idea when you work them out of the gates, and you see them work, and a dirt horse will accelerate on the dirt. A turf horse, while they're in hand, will travel really good, but then won't accelerate on the dirt, and that's a usually pretty good indicator which one's turf, which one's dirt.
Well, we know that he can handle the dirt. He's a Grade 1 winner of the Bluegrass Stakes on the dirt. What signs do you see that, other than his pedigree, that lead you to believe he's got the ability to handle both? It's rare that you have a horse that can be a Great Stakes winner on both surfaces.
Yeah, it's very rare. And the thing about it is he's done it his whole life. He just won't run into the dirt, and it was so evident last race in the Haskell. He was just jumping up and down because they put some water on the track, which is good, and then we had a little bit of a downpour, so the track was a little stickier, a little heavier last time, and was coming back and sticking to you, and he would not run into it. And after that performance, I just got to put him on the grass. There was no two ways about it, because he's not going to get the kickback from the grass as he does on the dirt.
One thing you know about this horse, distance won't be a problem.
No, further the better. He'll eventually be a 1.5 mile horse, this horse. He just goes all day.
What have you done with him since the Haskell to get him ready for this Nashville Derby?
Just stayed consistent with him. Watched him. He's thriving. He's eaten. Hasn't left a note. He didn't try too hard in that race. He just wouldn't run into the dirt. He come out of it, bounced out of that race really well. And I just stayed in a nice rhythm with him. And I think he's done really well. He's handled the synthetic track out at Tyrone really well. So he's been just on a consistent pattern, and he's ready today.
We've talked about your long-term long-time relationship with Witham Thoroughbreds, and they've been so good to you. You've been so good to them. How cool would it be to reward them with a greatest stakes win at Kentucky Downs in a spot like this and a turf debut for Burnham Square?
Oh, it'd be tremendous. Like the Withams, you don't get better owners than the Withams. They're tremendous owners, very loyal, and they ride the ups and downs with you. And it'd mean a lot.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have those types of relationships. And I won't say it's rare for a trainer to develop those relationships with their clients, but this one kind of takes it to a new level, doesn't it, Ian?
Oh, yeah. We've had a lot of fun together. We've had some disappointments together. And they're just tremendous people overall, And the good thing about it, they're horsemen. They understand the horse, and that makes it easy.
Yeah. And oftentimes we'll hear trainers talk about the fact that their owners just kind of sit back. Yes, they'll have conversations with their trainer, but they realize that the trainer knows the horse better than anybody, and they're the expert. That's why they pay them. And it's that wonderful dynamic where you have an owner that trusts you enough to handle their investment.
Yeah, it is. It's tremendous.
Ian Wilkes with me here on the Horse Racing Radio Network, looking ahead to Burnham Square and his turf debut coming up in this afternoon's Grade 3 Nashville Derby at Kentucky Downs. Ian, size up the competition a little bit. I know you've looked at the field. It's a full field. Several horses that we've gotten to know over the past several months as we made our way down the road to the Derby and through the Triple Crown are in there with you. Size up the competition.
Oh, it's a good race. It's you see by the morning line odds, I think it's 7-2, and that's the horse on the outside that we all don't know about right now. How good is he? We got to figure him out. But then you got Grain's horse Test Score. He's a Grade 1 winner on the grass. Then you've got Flying Gambit, who's fourth in the Derby. Has run a couple of solid races on the grass, and Brad training him. Then you got Sandman, Grade 1 winner on the dirt. It's a good. You can make a case for a lot of horses in here. It's pretty well. It's a good even, a bunch of horses that are very even, and a very solid group.
Yeah. Talk about the uniqueness of that surface there at Kentucky Downs. It's very, I'll use the term European style.
Yeah. You got to stay out of the horse's way. You got to you'll know. The thing is, when you know your horse really likes that with that track, is they've got to run downhill. Horses that don't really like Kentucky Downs do not run down the hill. And you just got to stay out and let them, if they're doing good, make up ground down the hill. And that's the key is, some will like it, some won't. If he doesn't like Kentucky Downs, does that mean he doesn't like turf? No, it's a different track.
What's the conversation like in the paddock before the race with jockey Brian Hernandez Jr.? He knows the horse, you know him, he knows your style. So what's the conversation like going into this race?
Well, Brian, how's your kids doing? We all doing good? He's got to ride his race, He knows him. He knows he's won the most races at Kentucky Downs. If I've got to get in his way and tell him how to ride this horse, I'm in trouble. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ian Wilkes, just stay out of the way. And let me tell you, he's done all the work. He's done all the preparation with Burnham Square. He's going to be ready for a peak effort. Brian Hernandez Jr. will take over the controls later this afternoon in that Nashville Derby. Ian, really appreciate the visit, my friend. Always fun to catch up. Good luck in this race, and good luck with all the horses you're going to saddle, not just this weekend, but going forward.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
All right, my friend. Ian Wilkes here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Burnham Square, 6-1 on the morning line. I think that's a very square price on him if you can get it. Very square price. 5:46 Eastern, the post time for that Grade 3 event. 4:46 Central Time, 2:46 if you're tuned in out on the West Coast this afternoon. It's race number 10 on the program at Kentucky Downs. Going to have the answer to our impossible trivia question coming your way at the end of the show, right around 10:55 Eastern time. And it's a football-themed question from our producer Lee Delapina for you this morning. What famous NFL quarterback was part owner of the Todd Pletcher-trained Mission Impossible? Think about that one for a minute. See if you can come up with the answer again. I'll reveal the answer right before I wrap up the show, just before 11 a.m. Eastern. Coming up next, Jockey Flavien Prat. Boy, is he a busy man this weekend. He's at Del Mar today. He's back at Saratoga tomorrow. He was at Saratoga yesterday. On Thursday, he took time to visit with me to talk about that schedule, to talk about how he keeps himself fit and ready to go with all of this back and forth, coast-to-coast airplane rides. And then he also talks about Nysos, and he talks about Sierra Leone tomorrow. It's a really fun conversation. That comes up next. Also going to go down the road to the Breeders' Cup with Mark Glatt coming up right around 9:50 Eastern Time, 10 o'clock. You'll hear the TwinSpires Triple Play. Kevin Kilroy will give you 3 races to watch and wager with TwinSpires this afternoon. Kurt Becker's Stroll Through Racing History, remembering the late Ron Turcotte, the Hall of Fame rider, Secretariat's jockey, but he rode so many other top-class horses. He remembers Ron Turcotte with that Stroll Through Racing History at 10:20. And at 10:30, I Asked, They Answer with Dale Romans, with Tim Wilkin. We will talk about all of the hottest topics in the sport of thoroughbred racing on this particular weekend. Flavien Prat coming up next. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Will you accept the Breeders' Cup Challenge? The chance to compete against the best in the world? The chance to race for a piece of over $34 million in purses and awards? The chance to be a champion. Winning a Breeders' Cup Challenge Series race gives you the chance to do just that, with an invitation to horse racing's biggest event of the year, the Breeders' Cup World Championships in Del Mar, where finish lines become the start of a legacy and starting gates shine on the world stage. Win a Breeders' Cup Challenge Series race and earn an automatic starting position in a Breeders' Cup race. Entry fees paid by the Breeders' Cup, a Nominator Award of $10,000, travel awards, and so much more. Here, winning a Challenge Series race is just the beginning. View the schedule of Challenge Series races happening around the world and learn more at breederscup.com/challenge.
His sire is one of the most exciting young stallions in the world. His dam has become one of the most important brood mares in the industry. And on the first Saturday in May, his genetic brilliance shined brightest on racing's biggest stage.
They come into the final 16, and it is going to be Mage to win the Kentucky Derby.
Mage, standing at Airdrie Stud. Think about it.
Top consignor Scott Mallory has an exciting group of horses on offer at the Keeneland September Yearling Sale. From solid Book 1 horses by sires like Uncle Mo and Curland, as well as exciting freshman sire Charlatan. Offerings in Books 2 through 5 include horses by proven sires like Liam's Map, Omaha Beach, Violence, and newcomers such as Drain the Clock, Olympiad, and Jack Christopher.
Don't miss the Scott Mallory consignment starting in Barn 15 at Keeneland September.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
And Sierra Leone is starting to rev up. He is right behind White Barrio as the field turns for home. Fierceness is the one to catch. He has a 3-length lead. Sierra Leone down the center of the track is coming with powerful strides. And Highland Falls is in there too. But it's Sierra Leone who takes the lead from last to first. Highland Falls trying his best. Sierra Leone has won the Whitney. Highland Falls was second. Disarm finished third. White Barrio was fourth.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Frank Miramati with the call. Sierra Leone winning the Whitney earlier this meet at Saratoga under Jockey Flavien Prat. He will get an opportunity to add another Grade 1 victory to his credit when he goes Sunday in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. But Flavien is going to be extremely busy over the next couple of days, and it's not only about Saratoga. How about this? He has won 29 graded stakes so far in 2025. 8 of those are grade 1s, which I guess when you're the defending champion jockey in the U.S., that kind of comes with the territory. His travel schedule is insane. We are recording this interview on Thursday because he will ride Saratoga on Friday. Then he hops on a plane. He will fly to Del Mar to ride the Pacific Classic, the Del Mar Mile, and the Del Mar Handicap on Saturday. And then he gets on a plane and heads right back to Saratoga to ride the first race and almost every race on the card on Sunday at the Spa. Unbelievable. Flavien Prat with me now here on HRRN. Flavien, good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
When the hell do you sleep?
I sleep in the plane. I'm getting used to it now.
Can you sleep well on a plane? Because I know I really don't.
Yeah, no, I can sleep pretty well. Yeah.
That has to be. I mean, when you're riding the quality of horses that you're riding, you do what you have to do. But put me in your shoes. Put me in every jockey's shoes that has this type of schedule. How do you keep your body prepared, your mind prepared, and make sure that when you get a leg up on these horses every single time, you are focused and ready to go?
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, as you said, I think I'm very fortunate to ride those kind of horses, and so it's always I always love to travel and go around the country and ride some of the best horses in the country. So, but no, I mean, you just honestly, I think just get used to traveling and. Like I said, I can sleep in the plane and race when I need, and yeah, sometimes you have to push a little bit, but it's for the right reason.
How many hours of sleep do you think you need, Flavien, to keep yourself sharp?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm honestly, I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's always better to have a full night's sleep than a few hours sleep. But I think as long as you don't do it every day, I mean, it's fine. You can just rest for the in the next few days. Get the chance to have a great travel agent that organize everything and put me in the right condition to travel well.
Yeah, I ask you that question because we hear athletes in other sports talk about making sure that they get the proper rest so their body can recover in time for another peak effort. And I would assume it's very much the same thing for jockeys. But I also assume that once you get on the back of the horse and it's game day, the adrenaline just kind of takes over, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, once you get to the track and you get your routine going, and yeah, I mean, then it's obviously like you said, adrenaline is kicking in, and no, there's no issue.
Okay, let's talk about these top-class horses you're going to be given a leg up aboard this weekend. We'll get to Sierra Leone in just a minute, but let's start Saturday afternoon with Nysos in the Pacific Classic. This horse, boy, when he's on, and he usually is, he's dynamic, isn't he? Yes.
No, he's been very straightforward and show a ton of talent so far. So yeah, very excited to get back on him and see what he can do Saturday.
Yeah, you've been aboard him on 4 different occasions, and all 4 of those have been spectacular. Let's look back on his most recent win, the Grade 2 San Diego. Take me through that race.
Everything went well. We had a good trip. We drove inside. It was a great draw, but he jumped for lead and got himself into the race, and we saved ground for the most part, and I was able to keep him out turning for home and just give me a good run from there. Yeah, it was a very straightforward race.
that race was 1 1/16, and the talk going into it was, okay, it's the furthest this horse had ever been asked to run. And if I'm not mistaken, was that his first time going 2 turns?
No, he ran 2 turns as a 3 years old.
Okay, in the Robert B. Lewis.
Yes, it was his last race after before a long layoff. So no, he ran 2 turns. So I wasn't really concerned about the 2 turn or even the distance. I mean, obviously, Saturday is going to be 1.25 miles, and that's where you're gonna test his stamina. That's for sure. But as far as last time, I wasn't too concerned about it. Yeah.
What do you feel underneath you with Nysos that gives you the confidence that the 1.25 miles won't be a problem coming up on Saturday?
Well, I mean, so far he hasn't shown any weakness in his stamina. I mean, I know it's only going 1 1/16, but like I said, I mean, he went 2 turns. He's very laid back, so it saves a lot of energy, and you can put him wherever you want in the race. So that's a big plus. And yeah, I mean, you'll never know until you run the distance.
No, that's 100% right. Nysos going to be a handful. He's the morning line favorite in the Pacific Classic. He'll have to square off with a horse like Journalism and Fierceness. You know those horses well, having competed against them throughout the year. So size up the competition for me. What's going to be going through your mind when you get a leg up on Nysos and you look around at those other horses in the paddock?
No, it's gonna be a competitive race, and I mean, 2 horses that have proven that they top class horses, and so I mean it's obviously you gotta respect the competition. I think the draw is a good draw, being outside of Fierceness, and. So we'll see how it goes, but obviously I think he's very talented, and we expect a good run.
You can only control your horse, Flavien, right? You can only control what you can control. But will you have a sense of where horses like Fierceness and Journalism are throughout the running of the race?
I mean, you get an idea of what rider wants to be and how they would like the race to go, but as the gate open, anything can happen. So I usually try to focus on my horse, trying to get him in a good rhythm and where he's happy, and then you can assess where everybody else is, and you go from there. Yeah.
Talking with champion jockey Flavien Prat here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Busy weekend for him, as we outlined at the beginning of this conversation. Let's talk about King of Gosford. You'll get a leg up aboard him earlier in the day prior to the Pacific Classic. That race, the Del Mar Mile, Grade 2. It's race number 5 on the card. So, of course, 1 mile on the grass course there. Tell me a little bit more about King of Gosford.
Very straightforward horse. Obviously, won the Shoemaker Mile last time. He's a great miler. I'm not a big fan of my draw. Honestly, I didn't look at the race yet, but I know I don't have a great draw, going a mile. But he's very forward horse, and can do pretty much whatever you want with him.
Yeah, he'll break from post position number 7. Why is that not ideal, going a mile at Del Mar?
Well, I mean, you get the first turn coming pretty quick, and it's always better to draw a bit inside on the turf. I mean, if you get 7 out of 14, it's okay, but 7 out of 8, you're obviously going to be outside. So, it's. But again, I didn't look at the race. I don't know. Maybe there's a ton of speed, and he's going to be a bit further back. I honestly have no clue.
Yeah, if people are listening to you say that and they go, wait a minute, Flavien Prat is riding this horse this afternoon at Del Mar and he doesn't know what the hell he's doing on the horse yet. It's because of the fact, folks, that if you're just joining us, we are recording this conversation on Thursday because Flavien's schedule over the next couple of days is just absolutely nuts. So we are doing this Thursday, and really appreciate you taking the time here, Flavien. You've used the term straightforward to describe King of Gosford and Nysos. What does that What does that mean when you say a horse is straightforward?
Well, there's no trick to them. They always, for the most part, respond to your expectation, and they can go inside, outside, in front, behind, depends on the pace. So, there's not much trick to them, I would say.
Well, after you ride the Pacific Classic, you'll have one more race to go Saturday at Del Mar. That's the Del Mar Handicap Grade 2. Gold Phoenix, the Irish bred, is your mountain there for trainer Phil D'Amato. What do you know about Gold Phoenix?
I rode him a long time ago, but, very consistent horse. Same bad draw. 11 out of 11. Going mile on 3.8, it's not a good draw, but he usually comes from behind. He's a bit of you're a bit of a victim of the pace. Obviously, you coming from behind, you want some kind of pace to run at, but very consistent, yeah.
Does having ridden him in the past, even a long time ago, does that help you when you get aboard him Saturday afternoon, or is that ancient history?
But it helps because the performance has been, they have been the same. And he is an older horse, so he's not going to change much from what I remember of him. It might be different if it was I rode him like as a 2 years old and now he's 5, but he was already older horse when I rode him, so I don't think it's going to really matter.
Flavien, a lot of times people will send in a question to the show, or they'll call into it, one of our call-in shows, and they'll ask about how much of a difference the jockey really makes on a horse during the running of any race. And you've outlined the fact that King of Gosford, Gold Phoenix, not the most ideal post positions. I've always said that that's when a jockey, an experienced jockey, comes into play and makes a difference. Do you agree?
To a point. At the end of the day, it's horse racing. But to a point. Regardless, you still have a bad draw, and you're gonna, try to manage it as best as you can, and try to make the right decision. But it's obviously not the best scenario, you start with.
Flavien Prat here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. One more horse to talk about, and he's okay. He's a horse named Sierra Leone, who really seems to have figured it out. Once he won the Breeders' Cup Classic last year, he comes back third in the New Orleans Classic, then second in the Stephen Foster, and then first in the Whitney last time out. Tell me a little bit more about what you're feeling underneath you and what you're seeing from Sierra Leone.
Obviously he has a ton of stamina, and I think he's just getting better, after each race. It was a disappointing race in New Orleans, and so it's almost like he didn't run, honestly, over there. And so we went back to Churchill, short field, he broke slow, not much pace, so we made an early move to get the race going. It looks like he was, gonna be 1-2 turning for home. Going into the last turn and turning for home, he needed a breather and regrouped well, made a good run, and obviously in the Whitney, everything went right, right pace. It was not a crazy pace, but just enough where a horse from behind could make a run, and I think he just put everything together in that race, yeah.
How do you know the right time to start asking Sierra Leone to make that late run?
I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, the pace is the pace. Whoever's in front and whoever. I mean, there's a lot of things that comes to play at that point. I mean, you know, it obviously depends on the pace. If horses are stopping or they just start to make a run and all that stuff. Yeah, there's a lot to come in play.
There are so many people now talking about sovereignty. He's certainly the top 3-year-old in the country, but a lot of people saying he's the leader in this classic division, even against older horses, though he hasn't faced them yet. Sierra Leone, he's the defending champion in this Breeders' Cup Classic division, so you gotta get by Sierra Leone if you want to win this thing. State your case right now, Flavien. Defend your player. Is Sierra Leone the best horse in the country?
I mean, the way he ran in the Whitney, it sure is. I mean, I think the Breeders' Cup Classic, if it's, you know, if everybody stays sound and can run the Classic, I mean, it's going to be a great race. I think Sovereignty has been very impressive, and I don't know if we've seen the best of him yet, but yeah, I mean, you're going to run against all the horses that have a lot more experience, and so it's going to be a very interesting race. It seems like it's one of the best group we've seen in years. That's for sure.
Yep, I would agree 100%. Flavien, you've got some choices to make as you get closer to the Classic, and that's a great position to be in for any jockey. Listen, safe travels over the next couple of days and a safe trip every time you get a leg up.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mike.
All right, buddy. Thanks for taking the time. That's Flavien Prat here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. When I come back, going to go down the road to the Breeders' Cup. We'll do that next here on the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Millridge is recognized with raising and selling exceptional athletes.
Test Score, a convincing winner of the Belmont Derby Invitational. World Beater and Junior Alvarado have won the Saratoga Derby Invitational.
Test Score and World Beater became the 40th and 41st Grade 1 winners raised or sold by Millridge since 2000, and they continue to exceed the odds of only 0.18% of all thoroughbreds winning a Grade 1, with Millridge and their clients experiencing closer to a 3% strike rate. Consider your next Grade 1 winner this September with the Millridge Consignment.
Join us at Kentucky Downs August 28th through September 10th, showcasing 7 days of racing with more than $40 million in purses, including the country's richest 3-year-old turf race, the Nashville Derby, on Saturday, August 30th. The meet boasts the largest field sizes in America, with 6 $2 million races on September 6th and 11 of 19 stakes worth at least $1 million for Kentucky breds, along with 2 Breeders' Cup win-in-your-in races during the meet. Reserved seats on sale now at themintKentuckyDowns.com. There's Unique, and there's Kentucky Downs.
It's time now to shine the spotlight on the Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week.
And ice cream for everyone coming at Tam Tam. In between horses, 5 bars. Ice cream for everyone. These two will hit it. It's going to be 5 bars. A terrific rally to victory.
5 bars. The daughter of Darley Stallion Maxfield won on debut at Saratoga last Saturday, earning the designation of a TDN Rising Star. 5 bars is one of several Maxfield offspring to win at first asking, making her your Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week. Darley Stallion Maxfield, now the sire of 8 winners from his first crop. In fact, 7 of his 8 winners have won at first asking, including stakes-placed Lilies in Paradise. Must-see yearlings are selling at Keeneland next month. Learn more about Maxfield and all the Darley Stallions by visiting DarleyAmerica.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Warming inching up on the outside as the field turns for home. Mayday ready, a length and a half. Eponine is trying her best in second. Play with Fire coming through along the inside now, and Play with Fire takes second, trying to get to Mayday ready. Mayday ready, 2-length lead. Play with Fire and Flavien Prat in hot pursuit. Mayday ready has something left. Mayday ready all the way in the Lake Placid. Play with Fire was second best. Eponine finished third. Behind them, Raining Flowers.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna with you right up until 11 a.m. Eastern on this Saturday morning. Busy Saturday morning in the sport of thoroughbred racing. It was last weekend, too. Frank Miramati had the call of the Grade 2 Lake Placid. Mayday ready, doing something she hasn't done before. I don't mean win, because she's won. But she did it in wire-to-wire fashion last Saturday. A new dimension for her. And her trainer, Joe Lee, joined me on Trainer Talk presented by Fasig-Tipton yesterday. And if you missed it, you can check out the podcast on our website and on your favorite podcast platform. But he talked about that, and then he talked about what could be next for her. So when you get time, head back, take a listen. Brett Brinkman, who you heard from in the first hour of the program, was also with me on that show, and he got into a lot of really neat things, too, about his life and his career. All right, coming up next, you're going to hear from trainer Mark Glatt, who saddled Grade 2 Pat O'Brien winner Dr. Venkman last Saturday, picking up the fourth win of his career, 4 wins from 10 starts now. He's a very talented sprinter, and now he's qualified for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, so Mark's going to have some choices to make with him as they move down the road to the Breeders' Cup. Mark also has his work cut out for him later today in the Pacific Classic. He has a 20-1 long shot in there, ultimate gamble, trying to upset horses like Journalism, like Nysos, like Fierceness. It would be a shocker if he can pull it off, but I'll talk to him coming up in the next segment, live from Del Mar here this morning. Don't forget, you can win big in the Bluegrass with a Kentucky bred. This is your Kentucky bred spotlight. You know, Kentucky breds dominated the stakes action during the recently concluded 25-day Ellis Park meet, winning 17 of 18 stakes, highlighted by Destino d'Oro capturing the $400,000 pucker-up stakes, and then you had Big Truz taking the $300,000 Ellis Park Derby. All told, a record $18.7 million in purses were awarded across 227 races, including $4 million in stakes purses during the summer season. In England, Kentucky-bred Scandinavia, the only 3-year-old in the field, proved his staying power by defeating Elders in the 2-mile Group 1 Goodwood Cup in England. The son of Justify is now targeting the Group 1 Irish St. Leger in September. And, you know, Kentucky-breds, they top all earners. Kentucky-breds dominate the earnings list through August. 9 of the top 10 spots claimed by horses from the Bluegrass State. Leading the pack, of course, is Sovereignty, who earned over $5.6 million. He's followed by Journalism, who banked more than $3.6 million. It also pays to race and to breed in the Bluegrass. A record $20 million in awards was paid to breeders participating in the Kentucky Thoroughbred Breeders Incentive Fund program for racing in 2024. KBIF has provided more than $250 million to breeders of Kentucky breds winning eligible races worldwide since the program was implemented in 2005. And, you know, Kentucky, it remains one of the leading racing jurisdictions, averaging a near record high purse per race of $112,648 and an average field size of 8.9 in 2024. Breed them, raise them, race them. We all win. For information on racing and breeding in Kentucky, you can visit KentuckyBreds.com. Poll question for you this morning. Which Breeders' Cup Classic Showdown, if you will, Classic Division Showdown, is the strongest race this weekend? Is it the Pacific Classic? Is it the Jockey Club Gold Cup? You can go to @HRRN on X. You can go to Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook. And if you don't do social media, look, I get it. Email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. I'm a fan of going back to a landline and an answering machine. The heck with everything else. So you can email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. Let me know which Classic Division Showdown is the stronger race this weekend. So far, 55% of HRRN Nation saying it's the Pacific Classic. 45% of you siding with the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Mikey on X comments and says, great show. Appreciate that, Mikey. And don't forget that Flavien Prat, whom you just heard from, bypasses the $11 million card at Kentucky Downs to ride at Del Mar, which I presume, of course, is the idea that Nysos will win. So Nysos, morning line favorite in that Pacific Classic. He has to answer some questions, just like the other horses that are in that race. I mean, everybody has to answer the question, right? But the big three in the Pacific Classic, Nysos, journalism, fierceness, they all have something to prove. Nysos, as good as he has been, and he's been brilliant, he has to answer the question of a mile and a quarter. Can he be as brilliant, stretching out furthest he's ever been asked to run? The late Harvey Pack in New York, whom many of you remember used to host the replay show, used to host the handicapping seminars on site at Saratoga and at Belmont. Harvey Pack would always say, never bet a horse as the favorite being asked to do something for the first time. All right, Nysos is going to be your favorite. He's being asked to go a mile and a quarter for the first time. Is it worth taking a shot against him today? Well, I think you do that at your own risk, because this horse has tons of ability. Tons of ability. And all he has to do is just answer this one question. Again, if you're going to, from a betting perspective, okay, you're not going to make any money betting on Nysos. Maybe you take a shot with somebody else. Who's it going to be? Journalism? He's had that incredible form against 3-year-olds. Can't get past Sovereignty yet. Will that translate to a successful first outing against older horses this afternoon? Adds a lot of intrigue to this race. Fierceness, in and out, right? Sometimes he's very good. Sometimes, not so good. Can he rebound from his lackluster 5th place finish behind Sierra Leone in last month's Whitney? Those are all the storylines associated with the Pacific Classic. Then you look to the Jockey Club Gold Cup tomorrow. Defending Breeders' Cup Classic champion Sierra Leone comes out of that win in the Whitney. He seems to be in perfect form right now. Mindframe, many people feel, as if he's the best older horse in training. Can he continue his role? As good as Nysos has been, I think Mindframe has been equally as impressive. And don't forget, he beat Nysos at Churchill Downs. White Barrio, 2 years removed from his triumph in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Can he find a way to get back to his top form? And then you have defending Jockey Club Gold Cup champion Highland Falls. Can he do it again? And if he does, should we now consider him to be a really dangerous horse looking ahead to November at Del Mar in the Breeders' Cup Classic? Plenty of storylines. Keep those votes coming with the poll question. I'll try to get to more updates later in the show. When I come back, Mark Glatt joins me live from Del Mar. We're going to talk about Dr. Venkman, his win in the Pat O'Brien. We'll look ahead to this afternoon's Pacific Classic as well. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
HBPA is continuously working to protect the health and welfare of horses by advocating and funding research to help reduce equine injuries, lobbying for a national testing lab to oversee and establish absolute uniform laboratory protocols, advocating for every track to undergo an annual independent surface assessment, passionately supporting off-the-track thoroughbred retirement facilities and adoption groups, and so much more. See additional HBPA initiatives at nationalhbpa.com.
James Brown and Bill Cowher welcoming you back to Dennis Melvin's house. It's time for the Midnight Snack Run.
This is one tricky obstacle course. Sticking to healthy habits in this kitchen is going to take focus and determination, but it can be done, JB.
He's already entered the snack part of the course, and he's eyeballing a jar of chocolate candy.
That is tempting right off the start.
Uh-oh, he's reaching, Bill, but he pushes it away.
Great stiff arm.
He's approaching a plate of delicious-looking iced cookies.
Oh, Dennis, you only want one of those.
He blows right by him for the apple.
Oh, the fridge. It's make or break time, JB.
He stares down some rich-looking treats. Uh-oh, looks like he's headed for the soda. Wait, he jukes left. grabs the water bottle, and shuts the door with his elbow in record time.
Unbelievable move. I gotta see that again.
And he's out. He even turned off the light.
That's the way you execute a midnight snack run.
Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Want to get the latest HRRN content directly on your computer or mobile device? Then subscribe to our podcast using the Podbean app or Apple Podcasts. Just go to hrrn.podbean.com on your computer and click follow, or download the Podbean app and search HRRN. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and listen to our latest episodes anytime. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our podcasts today. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Speedboat Beach is right there in contention in second. Stronghold is in hand behind the leaders. And squeezing through an opening on the inside is Dr. Venkman. And Express Train moves up on the far outside. It's wide open at the top of the stretch. Dr. Venkman on the rail. Maymoon, Speedboat Beach, Stronghold, and on the far outside, Express Train. All have a shot at the 16th pole. Dr. Venkman, Stronghold, Express Train. These three coming down to the wire. Who's it going to be? Dr. Venkman's going to the Breeders' Cup. He wins the Pat O'Brien. Stronghold was second, Express Train was third, and Maymoon was fourth.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Larry Colmus with the call of last weekend's Pat O'Brien, won by Dr. Venkman. You know Dr. Venkman, right? Ghostbusters? Bill Murray's character? Yeah, Dr. Venkman on his way to the Breeders' Cup after that victory. We'll get a chance to hear from his trainer, Mark Glatt, as we go down the road to the Breeders' Cup in this segment coming up here in just a few moments. And I love that name, right? I mean, I just love the way that when Joe Christofek joins me here on the program for the TwinSpires Triple Play, oftentimes as a horse owner himself, he talks about responsible horse namings and getting a chance to have a horse named Dr. Venkman, who is a son of Ghost Sapper, just makes a heck of a lot of sense, right? Pretty cool stuff. Mark Glatt, again, set to join me here momentarily. He will join me live from Del Mar to look back on that win and to look ahead to the Pacific Classic. He is indeed with us here right now on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Mark, good morning.
Good morning.
Appreciate a few minutes, my friend. I know it's a busy day for you. We'll get to the Pacific Classic, but let's start with that huge win by Dr. Venkman. How good was that?
No, it was a special win. He is not very fond of running on the inside and where it's tight. And his last two trips, he'd gotten inside trips, and just thought maybe he could have won both races, and just didn't get a good enough trip to do so. And lo and behold, he drew the rail again in Pat O'Brien, and the race, ended up scratching down to a shorter field, and the rail wasn't a problem the other day, as everyone saw. You could have drove a truck through that hole. And, he got up in there, got comfortable, and so it was, very good to see him bounce back with a win. He hadn't won since the San Diego last year at Del Mar, so looks like he's getting sharp again right at the right time, hopefully.
The San Diego's a 1 1/16 race, and he's also won at 6.5. He's won at 7 furlongs. What's his best distance?
Probably 7 furlongs is probably his best distance. we haven't had an opportunity, although we have flirted with the idea of running them a one-turn mile where those races are ran different times of the year. That might be right up his alley, but and I think he's really good up to a flat mile around 2 turns. But ultimately, a one-turn elongated sprint is probably his best gig.
With that said, which Breeders' Cup race do you now prepare him for?
It's a good question. I think we sit back. There's a lot of racing left before the Breeders' Cup, and in this game, a couple of months or whatever it is a long ways away for all of these horses. And so, the complexion of both races could change, considerably between now and then. And I think we just keep the option open. Obviously, at some point we'll have to make a commitment, but either way, I think we're in good shape.
We are 61 days away from the Breeders' Cup World Championships coming back to Del Mar. He handles the surface very well. He'll have a home field advantage when you get to that point. What do you do with him here? Do you try to get another race in him? Do you train him up to it? How do you approach it?
It's a great question. I've been asked that question quite a little bit here since he won last weekend. But, typically I think for most horses, or even horses that I, have ran, I like to have a race about a month out or 5 weeks out from the Breeders' Cup itself. This might be a little different situation because, he has had quite a campaign here this year so far. He started back at the very end of May and the Triple Bend back at Santa Anita. We took him to Churchill. So the Breeders' Cup, if I run him one more time, that would be 6 races in about 5 months' time. And that's quite a bit of racing for a horse running at that level. And so my initial thought here is to train him up to the Breeders' Cup. But again, going to kind of see how he bounces back here and see what, may or may not make sense, the most sense in his particular case this year. But at the moment, I am leaning towards just training up to one of the 2 Breeders' Cup races.
You could potentially have another horse qualify for a spot in the Breeders' Cup this afternoon with Ultimate Gamble in the Pacific Classic. 20-1 on the morning line. Much different scenario than you had with Dr. Venkman. Tell me about what it's going to take to pull off a David versus Goliath kind of upset here.
Well, in horse racing, you never know what can happen on a given day. And, he's always been a well-met horse. He was obviously a very expensive horse. And, the 1.25 miles is I think really going to be right up his alley. Now, we don't have any dreams or aspirations here. I mean, we do, but we have, we're not losing sight of the fact that it's an extremely tough race today. Nysos is a heck of a horse, and fierceness, and obviously journalism has been phenomenal this year with what he's done. So I think he's coming into it the best that he's come into any of his races. He's trained super since his allowance win, and we're taking a shot. Like I said, you never know what might happen on a given day, and he should relish the 1.25 mile distance. And we're just hopeful that he runs a good race, and we gotta hope the couple of them maybe don't come with their A game in the race today. But like I said, stranger things have happened, and I'm confident that we're doing the right thing and just taking our shot and see what happens.
Mark, I've got about 30 seconds left before I have to wrap it up. You enter today 2 wins back of Bob Baffert for the top trainer title at Del Mar. That guy's going to be okay when he figures this game out. Can you catch him?
Well, I'm sure he has a number of live horses in the rest of the meet here, and I think I do too here. Particularly tomorrow, I think I have 9 or 10 horses running. Very busy day tomorrow, so if it happens, that would be great. We're going to take our best shot at it. And, I've had several seconds at the meet, so if a couple of those had been wins instead of seconds, maybe we would be tied or I'd have a slight lead. But he's tough, and like I said, probably got a number of live horses coming up. It'll probably end up being pretty close, hopefully.
Good luck, my friend.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Mark Glatt here going down the road to the Breeders' Cup. We'll see. Can he catch the Hall of Famer, run him down in the final strides? Should be a lot of fun. Quick historical date in racing history before I get you to hour number 3. This one comes social media. I'm stealing this from my friend John Salzman over at ESPN Louisville. August 30th, 1981. The first Arlington Million, John Henry, who was bought for $1,100 as a yearling, beats the Bart in that miraculous nose win. Boy, was that a special moment. Happy anniversary to the great John Henry and the Arlington Million. Coming up next, hour number 3 begins with the TwinSpires Triple Play and so much more. If your local station is leaving us, keep listening to the third hour of the program nationwide on Sirius XM satellite radio and streaming at HRRN. Back with more right after this 10-second pause for station identification on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
It is Sweet Loretta, Pretty City Dancer still coming, and here she comes on the outside. Holding Bob Hanson to the wire. Pretty City Dancer and Sweet Loretta together in the Spinaway.
There in the stretch here, Viva Raffaella and Stephanie's Kitten. Stephanie's Kitten now to the front. Viva Raffaella, Abaco. Stephanie's Kitten with the lead. Abaco giving chase. Stephanie's Kitten has won the Flower Bowl.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Arrest Me Red is trying to make his move now, and here he comes with Brand on the far outside. Arzak is in between horses. Front run the Fed is closing down the center. Artemis City Limits on the outside comes the favorite Arrest Me Red. Brand fights on between horses, then front run the Fed. They're coming down to the wire. Artemis City Limits, Brandy too, and Brand does it. Brand heads to the Breeders' Cup.
And Beholder is opening up on them. Almost impossible to believe. She's turned this into an exercise gallop. Beholder is absolutely poetry in motion. Beholder and Gary Stevens didn't win it. They romped in the Pacific Classic.
Now here's Mike Penna.
What a day of thoroughbred racing coming up here on this Saturday afternoon. Actually, if you want to look at the whole weekend, Jockey Club Gold Cup tomorrow at Saratoga. All the big races taking place today. You have Kentucky Downs now in full swing. Going to be an awesome weekend to be a horse racing fan. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, back with you here. Hour number 3 of the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. If you missed any of the first 2 hours of the show, boy, did you miss a lot, including Flavien Prat. Flavien was fantastic, talking about what a jockey goes through with these travel schedules that they have to keep up with. But when you're riding big-name horses in big races, you kind of put up with that. You can deal with a little lack of sleep. He talked about that in that conversation that I just had with him about 15, 20 minutes ago. Head back to the podcast. Listen to it after I finish up at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can do that on our website, horseracingradio.net, and you can do that on every podcast platform. Hour 3 kicks off with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Kevin Kilroy joins me momentarily to give you 3 races to watch and wager on with TwinSpires this afternoon. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History. We continue to remember the late Hall of Famer Ron Turcotte this morning with Kurt's story, and I think you're really, really going to enjoy that. That comes up at 10:20, and at 10:30, I Ask, They Answer with Dale and Tim. We will tackle some of the sport's hottest topics in that final segment of the show. But without further ado, we say hello to Kevin Kilroy in this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. Kev, good morning.
Mike, good morning to you. Good morning to you. Things are rolling here. I mean, across the country, right? The action is just is nonstop, and Kentucky Downs on top of it all. It's definitely a good time to be a horse racing fan. So I'm loving it. Did you check out the Kentucky Downs opening day coverage? I thought it was fantastic. Seeing all the improvements they made with the cameras.
I didn't see the coverage, but yeah, I've heard that it was very good.
I mean, just a big shout out to them to see people invest in it and make it look as good as it can with the drones flying right next to them. And the course looks fantastic. And the graphics on the screen, every little detail, I got to give them all the kudos in the world because it's just great to see that. And we'd love to see more of that for sure.
Yep. Yeah. I hope more racetracks will follow suit. Very innovative. And all three of the races that you're going to focus on in this week's TwinSpires Triple Play come from Kentucky Downs, races 8, 9, and 10. So we have a nice little pick 3 put together and some cool TwinSpires offers on those 3 races as well.
Yeah, I believe it's 7, 8, 9, and 10. Those races, you get to get your money back if your win bet comes in second or third. So you opt in, and $10 up to, depends if you're VIP, and you get up to 25, 50, and maybe even more than that, I'm sure, for the people out there. But your first win bet counts. And if you run second or third, because it's hard to win at Kentucky Downs, then you get $10 or up back. So it's a nice little insurance to take a swing with some prices. And I think there's some prices to consider in here. There's definitely going to be some short price horses in these graded stakes. You got 4 of them on the card.
Well, let's talk about 3 of them. Race number 8 is the first leg you have chosen for the TwinSpires Triple Play. It is the Grade 2 Ladies Turf Sprint Stakes, 6.5 furlongs. How'd you see this one, my man?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to make a ton of sense if AG Bullet wins. You just can't knock, this mare who's won on the track, 4 for 4 at the distance of 6.5 furlongs. But coming in here fresh, has definitely found trouble in the past. We saw that in the Unbridled Song. And there's going to be speed to her outside. Could be a tough little spot. So I think there's some interesting form in here. If we start with Mark Cassie's 4-year-old, not this time, filly, Time to Dazzle. She was in that Caress, that Futures Now race at Zylos exits, as well as Pipsy, who's actually facing the fellas in the next one. But I thought Time to Dazzle ran fantastic. Had a little bit of trouble at the beginning. Actually ran into Pipsy at the top of the stretch. They clipped heels a little bit. And what I like to see was how Time to Dazzle didn't get dissuaded by that. You see that heart. You see that emboldened run after a little bit of trouble. It's always a good sign to me that we've got a very willing, formful filly. So its 4-year-old, I think, is in great form and will be a fair enough price. I like that Jose Ortiz takes the call. Has been teaming up with Cassie for a lot of success over these past couple of years. So Time to Dazzle for me. But I mean, other prices in here to consider. How about Simply in Front, Eddie Keneally's summer front filly, cutting back. That's what she did before she won the Music City at Kentucky Downs last year, going from a mile to 6.5. That's what she's doing here. Ben Curtis up. He finishes like nobody's business. I think Simply in Front is one to consider in Zylos. I think will be a little bit of a shorter price, but she's so game. And I do think that the shorter distances, 6.5 might be a little bit too long for her best punch down the lane. But I think she's going to work out a great trip with Junior up on Zylos. So I'm going to use those to swing against AG Bullet. Might as well, right? We saw a lot of chalk come home on Thursday, but maybe we get some prices here on Saturday.
All right, we'll give it a shot. Number 10, Time to Dazzle, 8-1 on the morning line for Mark Cassie, and the top pick for Kevin Kilroy to kick off the TwinSpires Triple Play. The next leg is race number 9. That is the Grade 2 Mint Kentucky Turf Sprint Stakes, 4:52 Eastern. The post, that's 3:52 Central Time. Who wins the Grade 2 Turf Sprint?
Good group, hard to knock. These runners, I mean, No Balls, Tyler Gaffleone, keeping that mount, I think. You got to think that Ravelli is going to be dangerous with this one. He's also got one-timer in there. It's kind of his classic move these days, having both entered and leave the handicappers wondering who's actually going to run. I think we got to give Arzak a look. We haven't seen Arzak in the winner's circle very much recently, but he's had excuses kind of left and right. Been facing some of the best sprinters, on the turf. And I mean, I don't know if you've been following Trombetta, but wow, that barn is just winning across the country. Colonial Downs, which I'm very connected to. He's been just winning just about every stake. And Arzak, that last race with Jaime up at Ellis, big time excuse. Got in tight. and pretty soon out of the gates, and had to steady and come back and brought a really nice late run against the flow. Bear River, Coppola, they were 1-2 throughout. So I think we've got there's 2 upgrades there. Definitely trouble trip, and then against the race flow. The bullets just suggest that this 7-year-old is still in really good form, and I think they're going to sleep on this one. I think the bettors will let this one go up above 20-1. So Arzak for me in here, I think we can work on a great trip. Bear River at that price, you definitely want to use. Pipsy, as I mentioned, Will Walden's got Ujda. I'm probably not pronouncing that right in the previous race, that mare. And he's got Pipsy, this filly facing the fellas in here. Has that excuse of running up against Time to Dazzle. Wasn't in the race as we'd want to be. A little bit of a steady ahead of the far turn. A little bit more trouble than is in the notes. So I think it's a nice confidence a sign of confidence that Walden's putting Pipsy in against these. She's always looked very good. She definitely has class. So I think she's one you want to consider too. Getting further away from that, how far can you go? You can go so deep in these races. Air Force Red is interesting on the cutback. Another Jose Ortiz mount. You want to keep an eye on him. He had a big day yesterday. Howard Wolowitz, obviously, most likely winner. But implementation, 2 for 2 at the track on the rail for Safi, I think you've got to consider too. But Arzak for me on top. The price can be right to bet that one to win.
Kevin Kilroy swinging for the fences for you here this morning on the Triple Play. 8-1 in the first leg, 15-1 in the second leg, which leads us to the third leg, the Nashville Derby Grade 3. This is going to be a really fun race. There are several horses in the race that we got to know throughout the road to the Derby and through the Triple Crown. So tell me about this Nashville Derby.
Yeah, we're going far, right? It's going to be a turf test for some of these. Also, a fitness test, endurance, 1 mile and 5/16. I'm sitting actually in the track kitchen on the backside of Churchill, and this is exactly where I was sitting when I watched Final Gambit put in the final prep work for the Kentucky Derby, and it was the biggest move. The track kitchen is kind of like the high water mark. That's where the legends are made. Like, whoa, they didn't pull up until the track kitchen. I saw Final Gambit pulling up past the track kitchen ahead of that Derby, and we saw the big late run in the Derby. We've seen some excuses. They put the blinkers on. They're trying to get him all figured out. I think he's going to love the distance. His gallop out in that last race was phenomenal. Put him in front in that world beater Saratoga Derby. And Mike, I've seen him on the track the past couple mornings just galloping. One thing that you'll see the Cox Barn do is at the end of the training session when the track is all beat up, he'll bring some of his monsters out. And I think that's where he gets some of his fitness, and saw Final Gambit out here, just eye-catching. Really seems to be in good form. So I think the distance is going to suit this, Not This Time Colt. God, you see that sire all over the place, right? Not This Time doing so well. And Florent Drew's going to get up, going to try a different rider. So Final Gambit for me, I think we'll get a fair enough price. I think it'll be less than 8-1, especially if we are live in this race as live as I think we are looking coming into it. But Final Gambit for me, this is one that I feel pretty good about.
All right, and a good price too, 8-1 on the morning line. So let's recap Kevin's TwinSpires Triple Play for this Saturday morning. Race number 8 at Kentucky Downs. He'll take number 10, Time to Dazzle at 8-1. Race 9, he'll go with number 4, Arzak, big price, 15-1 on the morning line. And in race 10, the Nashville Derby, he'll go with number 11, Final Gambit, at odds of 8-1. And Kevin, you talked about the money back offers. That's always a great incentive, and we'll encourage people that not just these 3 races we talked about this morning, but any race they're going to bet this weekend and every weekend, they should be doing it with TwinSpires, because there are so many great incentives for the players when they go to TwinSpires.
Yeah, there are. I'll be on air at the desk for Colonial Downs today doing that card. Opt in for that. You get 8 times your points, your rewards points. There's plenty of things. I do believe that they've got it for the Pacific Classic, too. And pick threes, running pick threes at Saratoga. If you can hit 3 of them, you can share $3,000. So it's fun. Sometimes if you don't know how you're going to bet, which pools you're going to go at, it can kind of just push you in a certain way and give you a challenge. Of course, the tournaments up there are fantastic. So get involved with it. It's a robust betting tool. You can handicap on there. You can watch replays. You can get all sorts of insights. So, join us on TwinSpires for sure.
Good luck this weekend, brother.
Mike, thank you so much. I owe your listeners some winners, so hopefully I can come in for the people with these 3 picks.
These long shots would make up for a lot of the other ones, brother. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, Kevin Kilroy with the TwinSpires triple play. Coming up next, Kurt Becker remembers Ron Turcotte in this week's Stroll Through Racing History, and Dale and Tim coming up 10:30 Eastern Time with I Ask, They Answer. Also, the answer to our impossible trivia question coming your way in the final segment of the show, 10:55 Eastern. What famous NFL quarterback was part owner of the Todd Pletcher-trained Mission Impossible? I don't know how impossible this trivia question is, but it's a good one. Hope you get it right. The answer comes your way toward the end of the program, right before we wrap things up at 11 a.m. Eastern. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History, presented by Keeneland, right after this short break on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Top consignor Scott Mallory has an exciting group of horses on offer at the Keeneland September Yearling Sale. From solid Book 1 horses by sires like Uncle Mo and Curlin, as well as exciting freshman sire Charlatan. Offerings in Books 2 through 5 include horses by proven sires like Liam's Map, Omaha Beach, Violence, and newcomers such as Drain the Clock, Olympiad, and Jack Christopher.
Don't miss the Scott Mallory consignment starting in Barn 15 at Keeneland September.
Colonial Downs summer racing season is here with racing 4 days a week. Afternoon racing on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern and a twilight post of 4 p.m. Eastern every Friday. Back is our popular 12% takeout Pick 5 offered twice daily. Join us for our biggest days of the season, August 9th at noon for Colonial Downs Festival of Racing, which features the Arlington Million, and then September 6th, the Grade 3 Old Dominion Derby. Colonial Downs, the race is just the start.
In the heat of competition, every breath matters. Flair Equine nasal strips are clinically proven to reduce airway resistance. By protecting their lungs, you can reduce the risk of EIPH, quicken recovery, and optimize performance. Make a difference in every race and every stride with a product backed by science and trusted by top trainers. Trust Flair for every horse, every breath. Learn the science at flairstrips.com. That's flairstrips.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Hello, I'm Kurt Becker. Thanks for joining me as I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. He was known as Secretariat's jockey, and when he died recently at the age of 84, most obituaries defined his career in terms of the 1973 Triple Crown. But his journey to becoming a jockey of prominence was a most unlikely one, given the fact he began life as a lumberjack in his native Canada. His name was Ron Turcotte. Born on July 22, 1941, Ron Turcotte was one of 14 children, 11 boys and 3 girls, born to Mr. and Mrs. Alfred Turcotte of Grand Falls, New Brunswick. The family had no background in horse racing, and young Ron never gave a thought to becoming a jockey. Instead, Turcotte focused on a more practical career in order to help his parents pay their bills and provide for his siblings, and that meant working long, physically demanding hours in the woods of Canada. Ron's father would contract to cut large sections of lumber, and he would take his sons with him to work. And so Ron began working with horses, just not of the racing variety. For 2 years, Ron hauled lumber with a team of horses by chain and bobsled. For 2 years after that, he operated a 40-pound chainsaw and cut down trees, something which he credited with developing his shoulders and muscles. Turcotte also learned the value of a diet which would prepare him each day for such demanding work. As someone who liked to do his own cooking, he would prepare meals which included flapjacks, eggs, beans, and steak, and he would later state that a lumberjack's diet would would serve him well in his career as a jockey. Having grown weary of the demands of a lumberjack's life, working sunup to sundown for $50 per week, Turcotte went to Toronto in search of a new career. He looked for work for some 3 to 4 weeks, but he was told repeatedly that his small frame made him too big to polish the inside of stovepipes and too small to move pianos. It was the landlord at the boarding house where he was staying who suggested Turcotte look for a job at the racetrack. So Turcotte went to Woodbine, and the first person he met was Joe Thomas, manager of the Winfields farm of E.P. Taylor. Turcotte got a job walking hots, and before long he was galloping horses for trainer Gordon Huntley of the Addison Hall stable. In June of 1961, he made his debut as a jockey, finishing 5th at Woodbine aboard a horse named Whispering Wind. In April of 1962 at Fort Erie, Turcotte got his first career victory, but he still had a lot to learn. It was said that he kept an awkward and lengthy hold on the reins, and he was suspended 3 times by the stewards. As the chief steward at Fort Erie put it, quote, "Ron's trouble was lack of experience. We would bring him to the stand, show him the films, explain his mistakes, and assess the penalties. And he accepted all of that as part of the game," end quote. Described as strong and wiry and as a skinny, curly-haired, snub-nosed, friendly kid, Turcotte began to show improvement as the 1962 season unfolded. By the end of the year, he had notched 180 wins, won a leg of the Canadian Triple Crown, and ranked as Canada's champion jockey. More success followed in 1963, as Turcotte again led all Canadian riders with 266 total wins, 217 in Canada and 49 in the U.S. His Canadian victories included a win in the Coronation Futurity with the rising Winfield superstar Northern Dancer. By 1964, Turcotte was branching into the U.S. on a more regular basis, winning riding titles at Laurel, Pimlico, and Delaware Park. Back home in Canada, he added a win in the Canadian Championship at Woodbine aboard the American-owned Will I Rule. In 1965, Turcotte would take his career to a new level by winning the Preakness Stakes aboard Tom Rolfe. And while not yet a celebrity in the U.S., he was fast becoming one in Canada, serving as the Grand Marshal at the Potato Festival in his hometown of Grand Falls, where he was also the guest of honor at a reception at the Royal Canadian Legion Hall. As far as his career objectives and goals, Turcotte said he simply wanted to be known as someone who could win big races on good horses against top riders. Wins in the Kentucky Derby and Belmont Stakes would come in 1972 aboard Riva Ridge, followed by the memorable Triple Crown run with Secretariat the following year. There was also the racing accident, which ended Turcotte's career in 1978, and his work in raising awareness for the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund in the years which followed. It all made for an unlikely journey for someone whose first job working with horses was driving a team at a lumber camp. And yet it was the path taken by Ron Turcotte all the way to the Hall of Fame in both the U.S. and Canada. Please join me again next week when I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. For HRRN, I'm Kurt Becker.
Thanks, Kurt, for that story. And remember, all of Kurt's Stroll Through Racing History segments are available via podcast on our website. And don't miss our Weekend Stakes preview show with Bobby Newman and Bob Nastanovich, which is also available right now at horseracingradio.net. I Ask, They Answer with Dale and Tim coming up next. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Millridge is recognized with raising and selling exceptional athletes.
Test Score, a convincing winner of the Belmont Derby Invitational. World Beater and Junior Alvarado have won the Saratoga Derby Invitational.
Test Score and World Beater became the 40th and 41st Grade 1 winners raised or sold by Millridge since 2000, and they continue to exceed the odds of only 0.18% of all thoroughbreds winning a Grade 1, with Millridge and their clients experiencing closer to a 3% strike rate. Consider your next Grade 1 winner this September with the Millridge Consignment.
Join us at Kentucky Downs August 28th through September 10th, showcasing 7 days of racing with more than $40 million in purses, including the country's richest 3-year-old turf race, the Nashville Derby, on Saturday, August 30th. The meet boasts the largest field sizes in America, with 6 $2 million races on September 6th and 11 of 19 stakes worth at least $1 million for Kentucky breds, along with 2 Breeders' Cup win-in-your-in races during the meet. Reserved seats on sale now at themintKentuckyDowns.com. There's Unique, and there's Kentucky Downs.
This is I Ask, They Answer on the Equine Forum on HRRN.
Bracket Buster tries to sprint away, but here comes Sovereignty now. He's let loose with those big, powerful strides. Bracket Buster on the inside, and Sovereignty and Bracket Buster a long way back to Magnitude in third. They're in the final furlong, and we are witnessing greatness. Sovereignty pouring it on, and for the first time since 1995, we have a Kentucky Derby, Belmont, and DraftKings Travers winner as Sovereignty rolls home to win by more than 8 lengths. Congratulations to Belmont. There's your Travers.
Frank Miramati with the call of Sovereignty, looking every bit like the horse everybody thought he was. The best horse in training following that dominant win in last Saturday's Travers. Should we now view the decision to skip the Preakness and forego a Triple Crown bid as a great call or a colossal mistake? Plus, which is the stronger race in the Classic division this weekend? Is it the Pacific Classic or the Jockey Club Gold Cup? We'll debate. And following her gutsy win in last Saturday's Personal Ensign, should Horse of the Year Torpedo Anna now set her sights on a matchup against the boys? All of that and much, much more is straight ahead on another loaded edition of I Ask, They Answer with trainer Dale Romans and turf writer Tim Wilkin, all presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program in the College of Business, and all starting just 30 seconds from right now.
A spark turns into a dream, and your dreams fuel a love that will last a lifetime. Turn your passion into a career with experienced guidance, a thorough study of equine business, as well as opportunities to get your hands dirty and put your mind to work. Located in the heart of horse country, let your passion fuel your profession at the U of L Equine Industry Program. Apply today.
All right, gentlemen, there are a few things that we have to get to here this morning, including a record week in our Showdown 4 competition, which took place last weekend. We'll tell you more about that toward the end of the show. But we have several listener-submitted questions on today's edition, and one of those comes from our friend Shane in North Carolina, who I kind of took a little liberty with his question this week, guys, and tweaked it, but I like the concept. With Sovereignty becoming the first horse to sweep the Kentucky Derby, the Belmont, and the Travers, should we now view the move to skip the Preakness by his connections as a great call or a huge mistake? Dale, what do you think?
No, you never second-guess Bill Mott. He knows his horse. Maybe the horse doesn't win the Travers like he did. Maybe he doesn't win the Belmont if he runs him in the Preakness. You know, he's going to give him time again and wait all the way to the Classic and not run him in between the Travers and the Classic. So he knows his horse, and he probably knows he wants to space him out.
I have to agree with that 100%. You know, the plan was never to go to the Preakness. Never. I mean, it was they mapped out the schedule for Sovereignty. I'm assuming months ago. This is what they wanted to do. The Triple Crown. If you know, the purists of the sport might say, well, he owed an obligation to go for the Triple Crown. Well, he really didn't, because the horse always comes first, and Bill knows that. He didn't want to bring him back in 2 weeks. Yeah, it would have been great if he would have tried the Preakness, but what happened? Yeah, there's no guarantee he would have won that the way journalism ran. But Sovereignty is obviously at the top of his game right now, and Bill Mott has him positioned perfectly to make a solid big run at a Breeders' Cup Classic Championship. I mean, he's already clinched 3-year-old of the year. And he would be horse of the year if he wins the Classic. And who knows, he might be horse of the year already. Although Mindframe and Nysos and others and Sierra Leone might disagree, but he certainly got a toehold on it.
That Breeders' Cup Classic is shaping up. If everybody holds together here and we get everybody into the starting gate that is pointing that direction, that Classic is shaping up to be one of the deepest and one of the most competitive and really probably one of the more quality-laden classics we've seen in a long time. Would you guys agree?
Could be one of the best of all time.
No doubt. Yeah. I think if they all stay together, it will be the best of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we're going to see a couple of races for the Classic division taking place this weekend. The Pacific Classic today at Del Mar, and then the Jockey Club Gold Cup tomorrow at Saratoga. Which race is the stronger race in this division this weekend? Tim, what do you say?
Well, I'm going to be partial and say it's the Jockey Club Gold Cup because you have who I think the leader of the older horse division is in Mindframe. Plus, you have Sierra Leone, who won the Whitney and won the Breeders' Cup Classic last year. Mindframe already beat him once this year. And you have, the Highland Falls, who was second in the Whitney, who might be the Rodney Dangerfield of this group. He doesn't really get a lot of respect, but he shows up. He won this race last year. And then if you turn your attention out west, all eyes are going to be on journalism, who after Sovereignty, I dare say, might be the most popular male horse in the country, with what he did in the Triple Crown races. And he's going to go up against Nysos, the Baffert horse that has won 5 of 6. And, he was a neck away from being undefeated. He was second in the dead heat with Banishing in the Churchill Downs race and Derby time. But, and Fierceness is out there too. That's a good race too. But for the depth and the fact that I'm going to be in Saratoga watching the Jockey Club Gold Cup, I'm going to say it's the Gold Cup. And I forgot you didn't mention White Abarrio.
Yeah,
in there too.
The Jockey Club Gold Cup is probably the toughest of the 2 races. But if you told me I could only watch one, I would want to watch the Pacific Classic. I'm very intrigued to see how the 3-year-old journalism, first 3-year-old to step up against older, stacks up. And it's to me, it's a more interesting race. This is probably a better race here at Saratoga. Quality, I think it's one of the better jockey clubs we've seen in a while.
Yeah, I agree. It's, in a few years past, the last few years anyway, it's almost like it was an afterthought. This race, it was the end of Saratoga and let's head into the fall. But this race really has major implications. This is going to be a fun race to watch.
It is. It tracks up with the Whitney.
Yeah, it does. And journalism, guys, is, let's face it, he's the number 2 horse in this division behind Sovereignty, a clear-cut number 2. If he doesn't run a good race and he's soundly beaten by the older horses in the Pacific Classic, do we start to question what we're seeing from these 3-year-olds, which right now are pretty highly regarded?
No, not yet. I think if he gets beat over there, here's my theory on the whole thing. If he gets beat in the Pacific Classic, you'll see him pointed towards the Breeders' Cup Mile. He's a fast horse, and he may end up being one of the best milers ever if he drops back in distance there.
Yeah, and two, if journalism doesn't fire, and that's a big if because he always fires. I don't think you put him in the scrap heap off of one race.
No, you don't judge the whole crop off of one race against older horses either. There are quite a few good older horses out running, more than usual.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see a whole boatload of them here at Saratoga on Sunday.
Well, Timmy, let's stick with Saratoga for this next topic. The Saratoga leading trainer standings show Chad Brown leading Linda Rice, but maybe not by as much as people would have expected. Are you surprised?
What, that it's close?
Yeah.
Maybe a little. But Chad is, he's got the big stake horses. He's got the powerful stable. Linda runs a lot of claiming horses, and she wins a lot of them, too. I believe that Chad has the most starts at the meet by far, but Linda's second. Chad hasn't had by his standards, I'm sure he'd agree, he hasn't had the best meet he's ever had up here, but he's done enough to, put a little bit of distance between himself, Linda, and Todd Pletcher, who's tied with Linda for second as we tape this, as we record this on Friday.
Yep.
So I'm not super surprised because Linda's having a great meet, and because the horses she has and the conditions she runs in, they're winning.
Yeah, Linda points for this meet. She does a really good job of poaching horses from Kentucky and other places to get ready to come in here and run in claiming races that you can just point your horses to the right spot and pretty much know you're going to have a live horse in a race. She knows how to win numbers at Saratoga.
But obviously, Chad Brown does not run a lot of claiming races.
No.
Well, the jockeys race is close too, guys. The jockeys race at Saratoga coming down to two brothers, Erod Ortiz Jr. and Jose Ortiz. Who you got in this one? Dale, who you taking?
Well, that's easy. Irad's going to win because Jose's going to be a Kentucky Downs more. If he had stayed here, it might have been tight. But yeah, with him going off to Kentucky Downs, he's going to let his brother be the leading rider, but he's going to make more money this weekend.
He is. And the other thing about, Irad is going to Kentucky Downs on Saturday, but he's, he rode here Friday, he'll ride here Sunday, and he'll ride here Monday. So I did some quick checking, as Dale knows that I do. Irad is named to run. He's named on 34 horses in his last 3 days at Saratoga. When Jose comes back Monday to ride in Hopeful Day, he'll ride in 9. He's got, as we speak today, I think it's a 3-race lead that Irad has on Jose. Jose would have to win everything and almost, and Irad would have to get blanked like 3 straight days, and it's not going to happen. Irad's going to win the title.
Yep. Tough to beat, but boy, those two riding at a very, very high level. They're going to be a handful wherever they show up as we move throughout the summer and the fall. Okay, that time of the show where we move on and say hello to our friend Nick Zito, and Dale and Tim get to tell me if the following statement is right or wrong.
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right? What do you think? Right or wrong?
Horse of the Year Torpedo Anna gutted out another big-time victory over Darth Vader in last Saturday's Personal Ensign. A date to face the boys should be in her future. Guys, am I right or wrong with that statement?
What do you think? Right or wrong?
Dale?
You're wrong. Ask the question again. I got dinged.
I say that she should have a date against the boys in her future at some point. Is that right or wrong?
Wrong. She won by a nose, but I will say it's the first time I've seen her have to gut it out, and she got it done.
Yeah.
Stick with the girls. Be your filly, the mare champion this year. Be happy with your horse of the year last year. One of the all-time great fillies. Put your name up there with Zenyatta and Rachel.
I agree with my esteemed colleague, Mr. Romans.
Oh, come on.
Kenny. I do. Listening to Kenny talk, and Kenny is one of the most optimistic, and he reaches for the stars a lot. He'll take the big chance. I don't think he wants to take the big chance after he saw what Sovereignty did in the Travers. When we were talking to him the day after the Travers, he was chuckling about it, saying that he was a little intimidated watching Sovereignty run, and I think he's going to be more than content to run her in either the Delaware Handicap and then the Spinster, and then go to the Breeders' Cup distaff at the end of the year. That's where I think she should go.
Let me ask you all a right or wrong question. Right or wrong, Kenny McPeak will be talking about running against the boys and in the Classic because it generates more press.
100% right.
No way. I think he's. That ship has sailed. I think he's going to be full bore ahead to the distaff, unless she would go to win.
He can't help himself but talk about it because somebody will listen.
I guarantee you, he will be talking about a run in the Classic.
Right.
I'm gonna say no.
But he's going to talk. He's not going to do it, but he's going to talk about it.
I don't agree.
All right, we're going to bring Nick back for that segment next week here on I Ask, They Answer, but we have two more topics to get to before we genuflect in front of two-time defending champion Dale Romans for his historic week in the Showdown 4 competition last Saturday. But we'll get to that. Ed in Kentucky has a question, guys, about weight. He said weight used to be a big part of racing when handicap races were common, but today it seems like it's more of an afterthought. How much does weight really matter in these races? Well, in any race, really. Dale, how much does weight really matter?
It matters. It does matter, but I think it matters in big swings. I don't think a pound or two is that big a deal. It's not the biggest factor. I mean, if you get beat in those, you can blame weight. But, you look at a race that's still weighted like the fall high weight. I mean, you get a horse carrying 130 against 126 or 134 against 126. That's a big swing. It's a big difference. But you don't see many handicap. I think for most racing secretaries are – They don't want to put their neck out there anymore. Used to get a lot of grief, everybody screaming about having too much or another horse having too little, but I used to love handicap races.
Yeah, I'd love to see them. I think they're gone for good, but I would love to see more handicap races in the books and have the connections point for some of those. Do you think that owners and trainers would point for those types of races, Dale?
I think it would add to the field size. I think if, Wild Hook Sovereignty, if you're going to run with pretty much equal weights, but if he's got to give you 10 pounds, take a chance. And that was the whole purpose of those races back in the day. I'm actually running Coppa at Del Mar today, and it's a handicap race, which you don't see a lot of them, but that was a handicap.
Ed was curious about the 10-pound bug allowance that bug riders get when they're apprentices. Does that can make a big difference? 10 pounds is huge.
Yeah, but most of the time they need 20 for the lack of experience. Give me an old journeyman that knows how to been around there a long time before a bug boy. They deserve the weight off.
Tim, what do you think about this?
We remember the days of, the horses like Discovery and Dr. Fager, Forgo.
Kelso.
Like 139 pounds. Spectacular Bid carried 132 once. You just don't see that anymore. And, if Sovereignty were to carry, if they put more weight on him, do you think, does that make him beatable? I don't know.
It makes him more vulnerable. It makes him more vulnerable. They might still not beat him. It's not set up to get him beat. It's set up to make the field more equal and more parity in the race and to give other people a reason to want to run. I'd like to see us get back to a lot of handicap races.
But, when you talk about weight, Dale, I'm going to ask you this because you trained. And I'm just figuring if you put 3 extra pounds on a horse and then the next time you take those 3 extra pounds off, isn't that going to make him run faster? If he doesn't have to carry even 3 extra pounds?
Yeah, well, it's 10,000 pounds of pressure put on every stride. You add 3 pounds or take 3 pounds off. And let me just put it this way. Tammy weighs 90 pounds. She never loses a work in the mornings.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
If you don't think 3 pounds is a lot, take a 3-pound ball and drop it on your foot.
or just take the 3-pound bowling ball and walk around with it.
Right.
I think it makes a difference. But then again, we're not horses.
But there's a lot of factors in a race that make a difference. And weight's probably not the biggest one, but it does make a difference.
Ed, that's a really good topic. We appreciate it. Rick in Sacramento also emails the show, guys, and he says, with tracks like Del Mar, Saratoga, and Kentucky Downs hosting top-class racing, it's really easy to be excited about the state of racing this time of year. But he wants to know how you see the state of racing as a whole as it sits right now, and asks if you guys can project what the industry will look like in a few years. Tim, you want this one first?
Well, since I'm not Nostradamus or a magician or anything like that to be able to predict, but there's so many signs that paint a grim picture for the sport, with the uncertainty of what's going to happen in Florida. The talk of Santa Anita maybe being sold. I mean, those are scary propositions to me, because those are two of the areas in racing that racing has to be held. If there was no racing like in California and Florida, I mean, I think that's when the death knell starts. I just think that you got to have people that own these properties that love racing. I mean, I think that the first people, they see the value in the land out there, and they don't necessarily, in my opinion, like horse racing. So that's a scary proposition to me.
Yeah, I mean, people have been predicting ever since simulcasting started. You could bet on any racetrack in any state that was legal that there would be contraction, fewer racetracks, more people watching the big events and coming to the big destination meets, which would be the Del Mars and Saratoga, and even Florida. But if you would do it a little different, that's a destination meet. So I could see some improvements to some old facilities like we're getting in Maryland and Belmont. There'd be some contraction of less smaller racetracks around the country, and more focus on big events and destination meets in the future.
Do you like the approach, Dale, of quality over quantity with the future of racing?
I think every sport needs a minor league, and I wish that we could figure out a way to buoy up some of these smaller racetracks and make them viable. But whether I like it or not, I think that's the way it's headed.
Are you bullish on the future?
I think it'll be a different future, but it'll be good for what it is. I think you're going to see a lot of high caliber racing, quality racing. The smaller full crop, we can't sustain all these racetracks around the country. I keep saying it's going to swing the other way, and I hope it does. But, the Belterras and Indiana Grands, if they weren't subsidized, they'd be gone a long time ago, and we'd be sticking with the bigger racetracks. But who wants to go out there and bet on those tracks when you can sit at home on your phone and bet on the best racing in America? I used to talk about it's like pro wrestling. Every city used to have their little pro wrestling event. In Louisville, we had Tuesday nights at the Garden. The same group of guys would wrestle on Thursday in Memphis, and we had a little Saturday show. But once WWE went on one channel, and you could sit there and watch Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan all the time, nobody was watching Jerry Lawler and Jimmy Valiant in the Louisville Gardens.
The King.
Yeah.
The King, Jerry Lawler. I hung out with him on Bill Street one night. That's a good story for later.
That sounds like a good one.
Yeah, at the end of the night, he had me in a headlock in the middle of the road.
Perfect. We got to bring that story back.
Yeah. Actually, it was funny. It was me and him and Mr. Belding from Saved by the Bell.
Come on.
It was a pretty eclectic group. And we were drinking a little bit, and I said to Mr. Belding one time, I said, "You're a little hard on Zach." And he said, "That was the writers. That wasn't me. I like that kid."
I don't think I would have had that trifecta in my bingo card.
No, not many people would have come up with those three.
Rick in Sacramento, that is a great topic, and you never know where it's going to take us here on I Ask, They Answer. That's a great story, Dale. I will say this. No matter what racing looks like in the future, the one thing that I would like to see is a unified national marketing plan where we can promote whatever the sport is, whatever it's going to be, we can promote it and find a way to get the marketing dollars and the message out to people that aren't necessarily following the game right now. They follow other sports, they bet other sports, but they're not betting on horse racing. I'd love to see a unified marketing plan nationwide to get that thing done.
We had that once with the NTRA, and they got hijacked by the Jockey Club and became a political organization. It was going well. Go, baby, go.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that.
Still remember that, sure. Yeah, those were great commercials. Yeah, to me, that's critical if the sport's going to grow.
I agree. People have to find out more about the people that put the game on, the trainers and the jockeys, even the horses. I mean, it's you want to personalize the human element on this, and I've been talking about that for years. But I'd love to see it happen. I don't know if it ever will.
I think Griffin Johnson's done a lot with his social media campaign that the racing has taken on, and I hang out with him quite a bit and see what goes on around him. And it's interesting how many young people are telling about the fact that he's involved in racing. Everywhere we go, people come up and start talking to him about horses.
That's a start.
Yep, it's a start. He's only one person, though, Dale, right? He's got a huge following.
Yeah,
he's a big influencer, but we need more of that.
We do need more of that. But I'll tell you, I was sitting by this lady over here. Griffin and I were together. She was from Boston, comes once a year to Saratoga. And he got up and left, and I told her who he was. And she texted her 23-year-old daughter in Boston that knew nothing about horse racing, told her she was hanging out with Griffin Johnson. She said, "Oh, did you bet on his horse?" So it's getting out there.
Yeah, it's a start, as Tim said. It is a start. And we are at the finish of I Ask, They Answer, which means I have to pass along an update on the Showdown 4. I used the term genuflecting earlier. Dale, we bow to you because...
No, we don't bow to him.
I do. After what Dale did last week with his team, this is fantastic, Timmy. You got to admit, he is catapulted himself to the lead now over you. He has 57 points, 44 for you, 31 for me. I am relegated to the back of the pack, just trying to get on track here. Dale, you won with Iron Orchard, Nitrogen, Patch Adams, and Torpedo Anna all last weekend. Incredible.
No. Nitrogen won 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, close enough.
Yeah. It's been a good couple of weeks, and I asked Timmy this question the other day, and I gave him the answer, so I'll ask him now on the radio. Timmy, what happens if you take a raw bucket of milk and let it sit for a while?
I know what you're going to... I'll let you answer that because you're dying to answer it.
The cream rises to the top.
Game is not over, my friend.
It's all but over.
Long way to go. This goes through Breeders' Cup Saturday. Dale, you have journalism in the Pacific Classic. Timmy, Nysos in the Pacific Classic, and then Mindframe in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. So both of you sitting pretty. I am represented by Fierceness in the Pacific Classic on my team. And if you want to see the standings and follow along with the competition and see our teams, you can go to horseracingradio.net. They are right there on our homepage, and you can follow along every single week. Should be a lot of fun.
There's a good chance that Dale and I are tied next week.
I'd hate to be in a position where the best I could do was tie.
Dale's going to take some beating from here. He's going for the three-peat, trying to pull off his own personal triple crown, but as Tim said, a long way to go. Okay, time for the final point of the week.
Wait a second. If I do three-peat, will it be the first time in history of this competition anyone's ever three-peated?
What do you think?
Well, this is only the fourth one, so that's a safe bet. That's about as safe as Ken McPeak talking about Torpedo Anna going in the Classic. Timmy, what do you got for us? Final point of the week. Kick it off, brother.
The Jockey Club Gold Cup is being run on Sunday at Saratoga. It's, the marquee race of the weekend for Saratoga. And it's going to be run at 1:45 in the afternoon as the fifth race because of television. I think that stinks. I mean, the race should be the feature race of the day, and it should be later in the day. There's 9 races after the Jockey Club Gold Cup, and the anticipation for the Jockey Club Gold Cup should go throughout the whole afternoon, and it should not be be run at 1:45 just for the sake to put it on Big Fox because they got auto racing later on. I just think that stinks.
Okay, sounds good. I just want to say that this is final weekend Saratoga. It's been a great summer. I was skeptical of how they were going to stretch this meet out and keep it interesting, but the weather's worked. The racetrack's done a great job of keeping good racing. It's been a great summer. Look forward to next year.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
Yeah, and our thanks to all of our listeners who took time to submit questions for you guys this week. If any of our listeners have a topic or a question they want to hear you debate and discuss, they can email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net, and let us know. Guys, appreciate it. Enjoy the weekend. Dale, good luck with Coppola.
Thank you, folks. Talk to you next week.
We're going to do this all over again next Saturday morning. I Ask the Answer is presented every week by our friends at the University of Louisville, Equine Industry Program in the College of Business. I'm back with more in the answer to this week's impossible trivia question next. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
Did you know VA home loans are a key to home ownership for those who served?
I would tell anybody who is interested in getting a VA loan to just do it.
For me, the best thing about the VA loan was the simplicity of it. I was expecting, government paperwork. It was going to go on forever, and it just wasn't.
Since the down payment for a VA loan is minimal, we were able to purchase this home and then use the money that we were going to use as a down to actually fix up the home.
And the only way we could do that was because the nest egg that we had saved for the down payment, we didn't have to use because we went the VA route.
This is a wonderful benefit that veterans can take advantage of.
In the military, we make a lot of sacrifices. We're away from our family a lot. And with the VA loan, it's a way that it makes it easier for us to get a home.
To learn more about VA home loans, visit va.gov/home loans.
Dear VetTix, it was nice to spend the night with my daughter and other veterans. It's so humbling to attend an event when you feel appreciated.
I had a wonderful time with my family. Thank you for the memories, VetTix.
Dear VetTix, thank you for a great experience and for your support of the military and veterans.
Thank you so much, VetTix. Our family has gone through a lot the last few years, and this gave us a nice break.
Every empty seat at a concert, game, or special event is a missed opportunity to say thank you to a veteran or a service member. By giving your extra tickets to VetTix, you'll help America's heroes reduce stress, strengthen family bonds, and create a truly happy memory that will last a lifetime. So when you really want to say thank you for your service, give the experience, give the memory. VetTix. Give something to those who gave. For more information on how you can make a difference, go to vettix.org.
How was your drive to school?
Let me tell you, I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then, someone started calling me, and
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Check out the all-new horseracingradio.net. All the same great horse racing radio content in a new, easy-to-use design. Listen to all of our shows streaming live or access the replays anytime. See our schedule, sign up for our newsletter, download our latest podcasts, and so much more. It's all on our website at horseracingradio.net. That's horseracingradio.net. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Torpedo Anna turns for home with Darth Vader in hot pursuit, a length back second. These two past the eighth pole together. Brian Hernandez Jr. riding for his life on Torpedo Anna, trying to fend off this huge bid from Darth Vader. It's Torpedo Anna. Darth Vader's coming at her. Torpedo Anna, Darth Vader. Here's the line. Photo finish. Torpedo Anna and Darth Vader hit the wire together in the personal ensign.
I don't know if she gets a matchup against the boys this summer or this fall. Likely the Breeders' Cup Classic if it was going to happen. But the heart of a champion is something we hear quite often in thoroughbred racing. And that was on display in the personal ensign. Frank Miramati just had the call. Torpedo Anna, reigning horse of the year, had to call on all her class. She had to gut out a victory, and she proved that she could do it. And as Dale talked about in I Ask the Answer, that was the first time that he saw her have to fight. And we saw her fight. And it was close. But in the end, like a champion, she got her nose to the wire first. We'll see if she does indeed get a date with the boys later this summer. It would be fun. Don't know if it happens. Probably not. But I think from a fan perspective, it would certainly be fun to see. Well, if you want to stay ahead of the field, Blood Horse is the must-have subscription for anyone who lives and breathes the sport of thoroughbred racing. Get inside info, in-depth features, expert analysis, and all the exclusive content that keeps you in the know straight from the heart of the racing world. Whether you're a trainer, an owner, or just a diehard fan, Blood Horse has you covered. Don't miss out. Grab your print or digital subscription today at bloodhorse.com and never be left at the gate. Time now to check in with our producer, Lee Delapina, for the answer to this week's impossible trivia question. Lee?
Thank you, Mike. What famous NFL quarterback was part owner of the Todd Pletcher-trained Mission Impassable? That was the 4-time Super Bowl winning champion, the one and only, the great Terry Bradshaw.
As I said earlier, don't know how impossible that question was, but I hope you got it right. Yeah, really cool. And he's still, by the way, Terry Bradshaw is still involved with racing and with horses. And we see that with a lot of NFL connections, including Bill Parcells, who's always walking around Saratoga. He lives there, as a matter of fact, and he just loves the sport. And it's so great to see people like that involved with our wonderful industry. My thanks to all of our guests for making this show possible, including Joe Miller, talking about the Tattersalls sale. You heard from Brett Brinkman. Jockey Flavien Prat with me for that extended conversation. Boy, was that fun. Ian Wilkes as well. Kevin Kilroy with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Kurt Becker for his Stroll Through Racing History. And Dale and Tim with I Ask, They Answer. Again, if you missed any portion of the show, check out the podcast on our website and every podcast platform. My thanks to my producer, Lee Delapina, in our Lexington studios, and to Chauncey for handling all of our social media. I'm Mike Penna. Thanks to all of you for listening to this edition of the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires. Enjoy the weekend and go Steelers.